Hey, folks, it's time for another episode of the High Power Archery Podcast. Back after a long absence, you'd say. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of stuff has happened. We'll get to that later, I guess. But more importantly, as our first episode back since our little unexpected hiatus, I decided it shouldn't be just me on here going through everything. I wanted to have some folks that I know who are a big help. You know, they helped me get started when I first put the podcast together. So I've got the Offcenter Archers, and for those of you who have listened to their podcast, they always keep it interesting, and it's not your boring sort of thing. And like I said, they do keep it interesting. So, you guys want to go ahead and say hello?
You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Oh, Jesus. I gotta do everything. This is Stephanie and my co-host.
I'm Anthony. Yes, we're a husband and wife duo that have started our podcast for fun because we didn't find many females in the industry that were doing podcasts or involved in archery podcasts. So me and Stephanie decided for fun to start one.
No, not really. That's not really why. Don't
No?
even lie. Don't even put that out there. Don't even try to gain points with the female crowd.
Oh, whatever.
We were just like,
This is how
what do you
our
want to do?
podcast goes.
Let's just do this. Why not?
Well, you guys started out, as just a regular, do it for fun sort of thing and something to do together. And it's grown a lot since
Right.
then. And now you're even manufacturing your own stuff. And I got to tell you, those shot trainers are really, really great. So the students that
Good, I'm glad.
the students I pass those out to are using them daily. I've got two of them that hang up in my shop where I train people over here, and they grab them and they're like, yeah, this thing seems like really simple. I'm like, yeah, you can spend a couple $100 on one that's really complicated, or just use something like this that's really simple. And they're like, really? I'm like, they don't get the whole thing. Like, sometimes simplicity is better than anything else. But yours are really well made, and they're like, and they make other stuff, and I'm showing them the other stuff you sent me. And they're like, oh, this is all so cool. I'm like, yeah, okay. So now you know what it does. But you guys started small and you've gotten big time. And of course, Stephanie with her thing with the lanyards and everything else that she makes. I mean, I've gotten a few of them from you, and the workmanship's absolutely great on those things. I'm sure you guys are keeping yourself busy like that.
Yeah, I have to say.
Especially Stephanie. Stephanie is much more busy. Look, the 3D archery, the 3D printing side of the business is relatively easy in comparison, I would definitely say.
You set it and forget it.
Yeah. It's one of those, I make the design. I got a bunch of our friends down here in South Carolina that they love to play test dummies for me.
Uh-huh.
And they give me my feedback, whatever, for whatever designs. But
Absolute river.
yes, especially all the guys at the shop we go to. So it's pretty much once the design is done, it's done, and it's just manufacturing them over and over and over. But Stephanie's main portion of her business is been chaotic lately, to say the least.
And who would have thought that it was we started out with the archery, with all the slings and the bino straps and the chair straps and whatever else. And then I got tons and tons of orders of call lanyards.
Really?
Which was surprising. Yeah. I never would have thought.
And stuff to carry the turkeys around as well. So,
Yeah, the turkey totes, yeah.
The turkey totes are, I never even thought about that sort of thing until you've like strapped one, trying to carry it out of the field, and it's like a 25-pound bird. Like, yeah, that kind of sucks. And you have a little turkey tote, then it'll help. But yeah, it's been one, everything morphs into something else. So like when I started this, it was just for my students, and then other people started, saying, oh, somebody put me onto this, and could you answer this question? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And like, it's gotten bigger and bigger, and I guess everything evolves over time. But like you guys were kind of missing in action for a little while, just like I was, but you guys had that car accident, and everybody's okay with that now, right?
Yeah. This, Anthony wasn't involved. He already left work, and I had the kids with me.
Yeah.
And this woman, she just decided to go through a red light. She actually admitted to me and the trooper on site and everyone else that the light was taking too long, and she wasn't from the area. So she decided to go through the red light because she thought the intersection was clear.
Wow.
That was probably the most absurd thing ever. To say that
it was
the light's taking
too
too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she still, we still have the court date to go to. I mean, no one got seriously injured, and everyone's okay. The car took the hit. It got totaled out. But I mean, the important part was no one got seriously injured. So everything kind of got settled out, but they're still keeping that court date. So I'm guessing because I had 2 minors, and then the third car that got hit had a minor that got she got a little bumped up, but I think they're going to hit her with some pretty hefty fines on top of what she's already paid.
Wow. Yeah, that. But at least you guys came out of it. Material things can be replaced. You can't. So you and the kids are okay, and that's all that really counts in all this. Of course, you had to go out and get another car after that. I can only imagine. And like I went through that yesterday, going to get another car, and not for nothing. That's something that no one should have to go through more than once in a couple of years. But
I agree. Well, most of the time, buying a car process is a pain, I guess. But I mean, Stephanie went through Carvana with the car we have now, and
and this is not
painless 15-minute car buying process. And we're not sponsored by
no Ed. But man, so I gotta say, they are going to destroy dealerships. That was probably the best car buying experience I've ever had. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny, like even now, because like there's a lot of rumors going around in the archery industry about how companies are reforming their sales initiatives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, some of the companies are stealing ideas from Carvana for sure, because there's a lot of sales reps that don't exist anymore, and everything is going digital.
You can buy your bow and all your accessories on the toilet.
On the toilet, yeah. Jesus Christ. I just realized you said it and I repeated it.
Yeah, I think Obsession was one of the first ones that wanted to go like direct to, there were a couple of companies that tried going directly to the consumer, and then like everybody else was just doing it through the pro shops and all that. But like Elite, you can order it directly from them. You can do a lot of different ways, and they'll ship it to a dealer who will set it up for you. So like they've gone hybrid with that sort of thing. It's a model that works. A lot of people want to avoid the pro shop altogether, especially if you live somewhere that there's no pro shop nearby. Years ago, people around here, their big thing was, I want to get a Bowtech bow, but they couldn't get a Bowtech bow over the mail if there was somebody locally who sold it. And say if there was one dealer within 90 miles of you, they're like, no, you got to go to that guy. So then they, if there wasn't somebody, then they had the Bowtech and the Boonies program. You can get it ordered from wherever. I don't think they do that anymore. I think now it's strictly dealers because there's more Bowtech dealers, but everything changes over time. And like you said, I bet they will go back to dealer, to factory direct, order whatever you want. Because if they cut out the middleman, it's going to be bad for pro shops, but then pro shops got to go ahead and live on service, which we both know a few pro shops can get by on service if they know what they're doing and they do it really well. But those ones who are, one and done sort of things, like go in there, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I don't care if I ever see you again, those are the ones who are going to disappear. And they really should, not for nothing, because there's a lot of them like that. But
that's with everything.
You get a really good shop who knows what they're doing, then people keep coming back to them. I mean, most of the stuff that I see doing my business, they're all people who bought their bows somewhere else. They come to me and I fix them because they never want to talk to the guys who sold them the bows again because they're like, it was that bad an experience. But I'm like, okay, then you're going to see that sort of thing happening. You know what it is? PSE used to sell direct at one point, and they stopped doing that. Now, who knows? If the industry goes back in a direction, I'm sure they'll find a way to do it again. But
well, I'm sure why, especially now with the the whole pandemic situation, everything has gone digital because depending on what state you're in. Like now, I mean, like I said, we're in South Carolina, so there's like no mask mandates here. No one gives a damn about any of it. And it's like down here, nobody's afraid of nothing. The South is a completely different. And I grew up in the Bronx in New York.
Yeah.
So when I see the shops up there, like when I was younger, going to like Frank's Sporting Goods to go buy my Browning before Browning got absorbed by PSE and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was a completely even different atmosphere back then. The stores were so crowded. There was the situation down here is so much different than it is up there.
Yeah, but the problem now that you're going to run into is that if it gets shipped directly to whoever is purchasing its home, then a lot of people do not know the initial setup of the bow, what they're supposed to be looking for, how they're supposed to be setting it up. And honestly, it's probably in the best interest to send it to a shop instead of the person's home because of the fact that if they don't know what they're doing and they mess something up, then they're looking at, let's say they buy it from PSE.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna look at them like, well, what was wrong with the bow, and how come this happened, or how come? But it could be their, not knowing what they're doing that could actually damage something.
Yeah, I think
PSE,
buying
right. Miss T. Matthews over here.
Whatever. Then
throwing shade.
Yeah, I think that buying it online and having it shipped to a shop who knows what they're doing and has a good reputation for it probably works.
Right.
But there are going to be people who want to do their own thing because not for nothing, try to buy a bow press right now. You can't find them because everyone's buying them.
No, not at all.
Let's 3D print some. It's a joke. It's a joke. Oh my gosh, it's a joke.
I was going to say 3D print a bow press.
You can 3D print a gun. An actual working gun.
Technically illegal. Yes, you can do it.
No, it's not technically illegal.
Guns are not legal.
No, it is fully legal if you do not have the intent to privately sell it. But if you have the intent to use it in your own personal use, you can legally 3D print. Look it up. You can 3D print a gun.
Okay, that's fine. I have no.
As long as it's not for resale, then it's fully legal. You do not have any laws against it. I'm just saying.
I don't get into the whole 3D printing of firearms only because I don't want to go to jail. This is New York City.
Yeah,
if you have
I agree.
a pocket knife, you're going to go to jail anyway. So I don't bother with any of that sort of stuff. But
even though you can kill someone with anything from the kitchen.
Yeah.
The only thing good that I've ever found on Archery Talk, which is like the trash city of the world, is that you would find plans for like do-it-yourself bow presses and stuff like that. But you'd also see some of the dumbest things in the world, like people trying to press a bow with a block of wood that they put together or something like that.
Yeah, that I've seen. I've literally seen people use like ratchet straps that you buy at Walmart and think it's a great idea to hook it to the cams.
Is that the redneck bow press?
The only thing I think that's out there that you can build yourself is a draw board. That's the only thing that's safe because it's like two by sixes and huge bolts and a gear driven ratchet and stuff. Fine, that's safe. It's got the big crank handle, but a press, no.
Yeah,
hey, Bobby, no. I got it.
I watch some cringy YouTube videos where I'm like, oh God, please stop using the press. You don't know what you're doing in the first place. Stop.
Yeah, bow presses, I saw plans for them on there. Most of them involve trailer jacks or some other stuff. And then they got the old ones that involve chains and like just a regular pneumatic jack. Like, and if you did that and you pressed the bow according, grabbing it from the riser, you'll bend the riser or you'll snap it or whatever it is. So some of them, like the trailer jack ones, if you know how to weld, they work. But I would still rather get something that's really made for it. I've even seen people copying Dudley's press, the Express Pro. I'm like, really? You guys are copying that too? And they make it with such light and shoddy stuff that it just like bends and breaks and does all kinds of crazy stuff. So you're right. You're better off buying it from a manufacturer if you can find one. And, even the Chinese are getting into making a Chinese copy of these things now. So I'm like,
well, I mean, come on. The Chinese are copying everything.
Yeah.
They do copy everything, yes. They've copied Hoyt bows.
The new bow company? Alita or something like that?
Yeah, San Lita.
It's basically a copy of Hoyt and PSE slapped together.
Yeah.
I just know Win-Win.
That's a recurve company.
No, Win and Win makes compounds too. They've been making compounds for years. They don't copy anybody's designs or anything like that, but they've been making compounds for years. They're just not very well known. They're known for their recurves. I know a few people have Win and Win bows, and they're actually pretty well made. Would I shoot one? No.
Yeah, I've seen the recurves. Those limbs are very, very snappy. They're fast with the recurves.
Yeah, but like everything else, the Chinese will find a way to copy stuff. And this is why I tell people, I said, if someone's going to copy something, they're going to put it out there, they're going to be people who buy it, regardless of whatever they say about, I want to buy American, this and that. Yeah, when you don't have any other choice, these people buy stuff. I've seen...
Oh, yeah.
I had a guy come into me over the summer that I happened to run into at the outdoor range, and he said, so I bought a bow at Home Depot. I'm like, you bought a bow at Home Depot? He's like, I ordered it from their site. I'm like, are you serious? And I go on my phone and they have bows, arrows, targets, releases. I don't know how that ever worked out. It's like somebody was selling through the Home Depot site or whatever, but it came shipped from Home Depot. And it was some Chinese version of a bow. And he got a release from there. He got the arrows from there, target from there. And the bow was like $120 or something like that. And it was a target bow. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, but I don't know what to do with it. So he said that he took it to a pro shop and they told him that they wouldn't even work on it. Go buy something else. That he has to buy it from them. And I looked at it and I'm like, listen, it's a Chinese bow. Accept it for what it is. But that doesn't mean that we can't help you set it up. So I helped him set it up.
Yeah.
And, the strings are, the strings are whatever they are. They're not great quality strings. I actually copied the strings for him, made up another set of strings, and it was all good. And he was happy with it. And the bow's running fine. It does everything that it wants to do. So just because somebody that's why I keep on telling people, like, the one thing I know I really, really don't want to see is brand shaming, because they're like, oh, you got this, so you suck, you should really have this. Or the Hoyt fanboys tend to do that a lot sometimes, but it happens with everybody.
You mean the purists?
Oh, yeah, they're purists, if that's what you want to call them. Yeah.
Yes.
They tend to do a lot.
You watch Team Red flood in like a river and think they're going to smack everybody. And down here in South Carolina, where the yellow wave is ridiculous.
Can we just start calling them
I'm the lone PSE guy in the flood of yellow here.
Can we actually just start calling them the Swiss Guard?
Okay.
Oh, that's messed up. Wow. Call them the Redcoats for the British.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, like up here, it's mostly Hoyt stuff and Matthews that you see up here. PSC is not that big. Out west, everything is PSC.
Yeah.
Hoyt is red. The Swiss Guard has red.
I know. Yeah. So do the Redcoats from Britain, Stephanie. Yes.
Yeah. You see, like when I go to a local shoot up here, it's about 60 to 70% Hoyt, depending on where it is, or you'll see 50% Hoyt, 40% Matthews, and a small percentage of like everything else. You don't see
now down here. You see Hoyt recurves.
Really?
That's down here it's all Matt. For the most part, it's, I want to say 75% Matthews recurves, and not recurves, Matthews compounds.
Yeah.
A mix of PSC and prime, but Hoyt. I almost feel bad for them sometimes when they show up to a 3D event down here in the woods, because they get surrounded. Wow. They will purposely put the single Hoyt guy with an entire group of Matthews.
Just see that one guy with the gear head.
Oh, yeah.
With the gear head. You're like, hey, guys, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm that 1%.
That's the dude I'd want to shoot with. I'm like, oh, he's got a gear head. He's got that Terminator bow. Let's go shoot.
No. Him and the elite guy and the prime guy all kind of grouped together. As all the 1%.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you see all different brands around, and the fact of the matter is, if the bow is tuned right, it'll shoot just like anything else. People have their preferences. Some people like a bow that does this. Some people like a bow that does that.
Oh, yeah.
Some people want to spend $3,000. If you want to spend $3,000 on a bow.
We have friends like that.
Oh, really?
We have friends like that. Oh, yeah.
Well, you could get the one guy who shoots the Martin and the other Spanish guy who shoots the Martin.
The Martin
with the with the sombrero on.
and I'll tell you something. When I go to an outdoor shoot, I see guys with full target rigs showing up over there, and I'm like, you know something? If it's a 3D shoot and it's like a championship or something like that, I'll bring the target bow. If not, I'm just shooting for fun, whatever. And a target rig can be a lot of fun, but at the same time, like, I shoot pro division, so I'm like, yeah, it's work. But I break out the hunting bow, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to knock around and have fun with this. I got news for you. Some of the people that I see shooting over there have bows that are 10 and 12 years old, and they smoke anybody with a target bow. Because these guys are hunters. That's what they do. They're like, oh, yeah, I can shoot this. And then we'll see something like we had at Waxaby, which is the club I belong to, which if you guys ever come up here, I'll take you for a tour of the club. You can shoot our 3D range and all that. But we have a bear that crosses a stream on top of a log. And people are like, oh, that's a cool one, but it kind of sucks because it's a downhill shot. And they complain about it like crazy. And I'm like, okay. So
they complain about that?
They complain about it. They're like, oh, it's a
hard
shot.
Come on down to South Carolina. Come to South Carolina. I'll put you on a course that my buddy Joey sets up. You will hate life. He is the master at twisting people's emotions.
They complain if it's not a straight shot.
Mm-hmm. They do, yeah. I mean, we have we have pro courses down here. I mean, local to us is the Wallaces. I mean, everybody knows the archery who they are. Mm-hmm. And they're members of Kiwi.
Name drop.
Whatever. Jack's awesome. Sharon's awesome. I mean, the nicest people on the planet. And I go down there to shoot the 3D events down there. And like I said, my buddy Joe, he is the master at just twisting people. And people will complain. And he's like, well, I don't understand why they don't like the challenge. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe the target at 42 yards between two trees that are in the shape of a V might mess with people because the only thing you could see is the 10 ring.
Yeah.
If you go for the lower 12, say goodbye to your arrow.
Listen, they're at home. Their wife gives them a hard time, and they try to get away from it, and then the targets give them a hard time.
Whatever, man. That's why I always give props to our guys down here. They shoot 3D events down here like they're hunters. They don't care.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they like to have fun, and they know too. Like they know everyone that's going to show up to the course. All of our bows, our target bows, are going to be set up for known 40, known 50 class.
Yeah.
And then once a year, they'll purposely do this whole event where every target's a deer, and then after that 3D shoot is done, they do a challenge event, and this is the reach out and touch a target setup. So like the first target we were on for the group that I was put in that day was 80 yards. I'm like, nope, going back to the car. I'm going to get the inertia out, and we're going to go and shoot the bow that's targeted out to 120 and just reach out and smack a target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, with that particular target, the one thing I've learned since doing this so long is that if you're going to do something, no matter what it is you do, it doesn't make a difference if it's archery or anything else in life, if you're going to worry about it and hoof and holler about it, then you're not going to be very good at it. And the best people I've ever seen shoot at these targets, when they come in there, they're not using the $3,000 rigs or anything like that. They walk up to the target, they're like, that's different. Okay. And they just whack it. And they'll center punch that thing, and it'll be over. Meantime, the guy with the target bow is complaining about it, and he's looking at it, he's like, this is a hard shot, and he winds up shooting like a 4 or a 5, just putting it on the foam. I'm like, really? So that's when you can see, like, if you are relaxed and you know what you're doing, it just happens. And at the same time, some of these guys take themselves way too seriously. And like,
no, I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Like, there's times when I see, like, we've had the coach conversation on our podcast when you were on with us, and you see a lot of pressure that's put on a lot of these younger kids where it's like, okay, you got to try and keep serious, keep focused. And it's like, one, you're 14. You want to be serious, you need to have a 15-second window of seriousness. Because that 14 to 15 seconds, because that's all your shot process should take, 15 seconds.
Yep.
The second you let that arrow up, if that shot was good, I better see a smile on that face, and you better relax.
Yeah, but if you're talking about
those, there's too much pressure put on people because they're like, oh, it's a sport. No, you started this to have fun.
Well, the thing is, though, if you're talking about kids, because you mentioned the 14, 15-year-olds doing it, then they're also, the parents are kind of putting on them what they wanted to do with themselves, but they couldn't do. So now they're passing it on to their kids that, with any kind of sport, it's not just archery, it's anything. That they try to make them be better than this and do this right and that and don't do this and do it this way. And that's just the parents' other problems they have that have nothing to do with how much you buy, what kind of bow you do.
Oh, I agree.
So you have all those other issues that you're kind of starting to run into as people get older, and then they have other underlying problems that have nothing to do with the bow they bought or the shot. It's just,
well, mostly what I see up here is people who are living vicariously through their kids. They're like,
yes,
yeah, for sure.
That's the word I was looking for, but I couldn't spit it out.
They pushed them so hard, and I'm like, something, this kid doesn't even want to shoot. Where they may have had interest in it once, they don't want to do this anymore. And parents like that, I don't have the patience for. I'm like, listen, the first thing I agree. I sit down with the kids and I'm like, we're here to have fun. When you stop having fun, you need to tell me. Because if you're not having fun, there is no point to this anymore. Like, well, my mom wants me to compete, and I'm like, oh. And then I pull this one little girl. I pulled her aside. She was 12. She's like, well, my mom wants me to compete, and I have to do well. And what's the way to put this in an easy way? So she comes from a background where doing well in school and doing well in every single thing in life, including competitions, is like mandatory. It's not an option. So I told her, I pulled her aside and I said, listen, you're going to have fun doing this. The day it doesn't want to be fun anymore, it kind of turns into a job. And you know what happens with a job? You're grown up. So if you're not going to be grown up, you're 12 years old. We're going to have fun doing this. And she looks at me, she's like, okay, I'll try. And I'm like, no, you're going going to have fun, trust me. And I started alternating her targets. She's like, what, I get to shoot at a foam target instead of paper? I'm like, yeah. You know, and I put out a zombie out there. I put an ogre out there. Just switch up stuff for her. And she really took to it, and she was happy with it. Her mom's like, well, she has to be in nationals by the end of the year. If we don't see any progress, then we're going to get somebody else. I said, okay.
Wow. That's horrible. That's too much pressure for a kid, man.
This is a family friendly podcast, so I'm just going to say she needs some
guidance,
some words thrown at her.
a serious kick in the ass.
Socially.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, you want to get people and kids, especially into archer or whoever. And I mean, we try to, even on our show, I mean, we're definitely a show that's not safe for work in any sort of circumstance because we're trying to keep this extremely PG for everybody.
Yeah.
You want to get everyone into it, but you want them to start off knowing it's fun. Sure, you gradually might get into some sort of competition phase, but you shouldn't jump into stuff like gung ho. Yeah. That I have to do this because I've seen that before too. Because like when we were in New York before we moved to South Carolina and I took my transfer here, there was a kid that was doing 3D competitions. He was going to 3D competitions with a PSE Stinger X.
Yeah.
In my opinion, probably one of the best starting bows on the planet because it's so super adjustable. This kid was going to these competitions straight beast mode, just wrecking everyone. Just annihilating everyone in the whole known division. I think he was in known 30 because of his age group. And along come his parents, like I think the fourth tournament in, they buy this kid a Perform X, 3D, 37-inch model. He went from a 3-pound bow to a 5-pound bow and 30-inch stabilizers instead of running hunter class. And they're like, well, I don't understand why he can't hold the bow. I'm like, do you know his Stinger was like, I don't know, 4.5 pounds with everything on it?
Yeah.
That bow with nothing on it is heavier than his entire setup was before.
Yeah.
They're like, you're going to blow your kid's shoulder out. Let him have fun. Let him get stronger. We can add some more weights. We can give him a sidebar because he was only running a 12-inch front bar to be legal for his division, for his age bracket. And
otherwise he's freestyle
too
limited
fast.
And he's screwed. Yeah.
These parents, a lot of them, no knocking, because I know there are some parents that are awesome out there. I mean, some of these parents it's 0 to full throttle if they see the kid make a bullseye.
Yeah.
Let the kid have some fun.
No, and like I said, I've seen stuff where I had someone actually tell me my kid has to be on a podium by the end of the year in nationals, or this is not going to work for us. I said, then I'll tell you right now, it's not going to work for us because I have had kids that make it to nationals and do very well, and that's not something that I will force any kid into. They progress at their own rate. I will help them go along, but I'm not going to force somebody into this thing, making them think that if you don't have a gold medal at the end of this, then you're worthless. Because that's the way they talk to some of these kids. And when I see something like that, I mean, I tried to shield the kids as much as I can from it, but you see so much of it. It's like ridiculous. I'm not seeing a lot of it since this whole COVID thing happened because like there's no competitions. But as soon as things go back to normal, as we call it, those people crawl out of the woodwork again, and they'll start doing that. And then they have coaches that I can think of 2 or 3 of them around here that they'll bring them to because they have a reputation for that. And the guy will be like, I'll work them to the bone until we get them to where you want. And I'm like, I can't see anyone telling that to a kid. I'm like, no. You're not going to play that game around me. But, yeah, I know a few people who do that sort of thing. And it really, really just pisses me off when I see something like that. But these sort of people do exist. And, kids, like I said, I have a simple rule. You're having fun. So if they're having a hard time, working with something, I'll change it up, fix it up for them, whatever. We'll do this, make it a little bit interesting while they're learning something. Because you guys remember the original Karate Kid movie, not the other ones that came after that because it was so bad.
Yeah.
But so he taught him without the kid knowing he was being taught. He's like, stand the floor. It's like, okay, so this is what you do. Show me how to do this. That's really blocking somebody, or this is hitting somebody. And he's like, really? And if you teach kids the same way, you kind of get through to them. But some guys are just like, okay, I'm USA Archery certified, and I know the NTS system. If you teach that to a young kid, okay, they're going to look at you like your head's on backwards maybe. I mean, some kids can understand the rigid stuff, other kids can't, and other kids are like, they get bored. I'm just like, look, just shoot your bow. We're going to show you how to do this, and we'll help you improve, whatever. And the kids like it a lot better. Other kids, they see this such a stringent sort of thing set up. They don't want to do it again. It's not fun. I mean, what are they going there for?
Right.
So we see a lot of that over here. Hopefully with the whole COVID thing starting to go away, I know it's lightened up a lot more by you guys than it has over here. Finally, they're letting people into restaurants around here. Oh, my
God. Down here, South Carolina's off to the races. They're like, oh, there's not an event this weekend? Let's add one. It's every weekend. I mean, next weekend is the R100 down in Georgia, and that's like an hour and 35 minutes from me, something like that.
Yeah,
that place is going to be packed.
Yeah, I mean, up here this weekend, yesterday and today, they had at our range they were hosting the Mid-Atlantic Championships, part of the NFA mids shoots, and normally in past years, over a weekend, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you might have 150, 200 people show up for that shooting over the 3 days because they hosted in multiple clubs. I think this time we maybe had 20 people per day, 20 people here, 20 people there because of the restrictions, and people are scared to come in and this and that sort of thing. So up here,
well, you also have Cuomo up there running the.
We're not going to get political here. We all know what was done. We're not going to go political.
I don't know, man. That list of women is getting larger and larger.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not political. He's just the Grim Reaper walking around New York City right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Sending people to nursing homes and stuff like that.
No, my whole point of bringing him up is not political, but you see, like, South Carolina, a lot of the shoots have a better turnout. Some of the other states have a better turnout. And then you look at some of the other states that have been more restricted, and the fear behind everything being pushed and on the news and everything. And those turnouts are less because either people really either buy into it, like, oh, I need to stay quarantined in my home, or they're just too afraid that if they go to some of these things and the other things you start seeing on the news of these people fighting and people getting kicked out and videotapes, and a lot of these people are not showing up to these shoots.
Yeah.
So when you have stuff like that, it's not so much just political. It's starting to affect other things. So you get in the division between certain states.
Yeah.
So certain states like us, you got Texas, you got the lower South, Florida. Florida's like a free-for-all. Right? They've been like a free-for-all.
Florida heard the vitamin D from the sun gets rid of COVID. The beaches were packed. So you got all the events still running and all the archery events and everything else still going on. And then you got all the people that are stuck up north that are showing up, and like you said, there's like hardly anyone showing up. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, there's starting to become a divide where either everything has to reopen and it goes back to normal, or you're going to see a lot of these events being pulled from the northern states, like the Northeast, and then you got on the other coast, California, Washington, Oregon.
Like up here, they canceled Lancaster.
Pulled out of there.
Yeah. Which is a huge
That was
shoot.
horrible.
Yeah.
That was horrible when it did, because Lancaster came out, just big puff in their chest, like, we're not going to do it. And the state's like, you're canceled, bro. It's like, oh.
Yeah, and then you got events like TAC.
I kept my, if you want to hear my turn, go listen to our podcast. Yeah. That is not how I say it on ours.
No, but, and then you got events like TAC. TAC brings in revenue for hotels and restaurants and the area community and everything else.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, we go to Tennessee, and that whole town it's a small town. It is not highly populated. There's not a lot going on. It's not touristy. But man, when they go in, you got the hotels that are fully booked. You got restaurants that are fully packed. They
probably have one of the best barbecue places in the country.
And they don't realize that this whole, fearing people into not doing these things, that events like this are just going to say, then forget it. We're not dealing with you anymore, and then we're just going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, they'll stay
out of
the states that are hot states for it, and they'll be like, no, we'll just go wherever we can do it, and we'll have double the number of events, and people will come all the way out there, and they'll do that. I mean,
exactly.
Every year we have Vegas, the Vegas shoot. Imagine what Las Vegas is like right now, because they Well, okay. To put it simply, they lost all those casinos are closed for 6 months or whatever it was, so they had no people over there. Now the biggest archery shoot in the world, which is the Vegas shoot, was canceled during its scheduled time. So all those hotel rooms that were going to be sold and all that, they lost all that. They lost all the food sales. They lost everything over there.
Yep.
Imagine what's happening to that town right now. Now they're going to have another Vegas shoot. They have a virtual one, and then they're going to have an in-person one. But it's not going to be the same thing. It's at a different time of year now.
I don't know, man. If they do decide to do some more of those virtual things, someone needs to tell Sarah Lopez to slap that gerbil because her data rate is horrendous in Colombia. Oh, my God. I tried to watch her last virtual shoot, and I'm like, okay, so we know her router can handle the phone that's watching her.
Because the signal has to go through.
They can't handle the camera because it's like, I think she hit the yellow. I just see a blob.
Yeah, because it's the signal's trying to go through customs first.
That's no knocking. I mean, everyone knows. If you ever listen to our podcast, everyone knows, like, Paige comes up, Sarah Lopez.
Oh, my God. Can I just interject? For all the female archers out there that are trying to get into video and doing their own thing and whatnot, man, you don't need to pile on the makeup to be videotaped.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh. Paige. She's a great shot, and she's, when she talks, she's very respectful. She's not an idiot. And,
she knows her stuff. Yeah.
Yep, she doesn't sound like someone that's outdoors and her name begins with an A.
It's her eyelashes.
And,
oh, God.
She
caught that.
the amount of makeup that is just on her is it's just very disturbing.
Well, I had that with a couple of girls that came to me who were sports girls. They all played softball. I had 4 of them. 2 of them were sisters, and the other 2 were friends of theirs. They played softball in college, okay? And I don't know if you know about people who play softball, but the girls wear so much makeup.
Hey.
I don't know, man.
I played softball, and I've never bought any makeup. I think lip gloss was the expensive because we had to go to a wedding.
You paid to have makeup done at our wedding.
Yeah, if you check out any of these college games, even the high school games, the girls up here, they doll themselves up with so much makeup. I'm like, you're going to sweat with that stuff on there? Well, that carried over into these girls shooting over here because they actually started shooting in local shoots and stuff like that. And they wouldn't spend an hour and a half working, getting their bows ready before the shoot. They'd spend an hour and change doing their makeup before a shoot. I'm like,
wow.
Really? And, like everything else, they did it because it was a thing, and they did okay with it, and then they just gave it up. And I'm like, okay, if you do it and you don't have to go all dolled up and you're just having fun, they're like, no, then what's the whole point? I'm like, okay.
You know what? Coming from the female voice, so no one can say anything about this. From the female side, if you go with all the makeup to a shoot and then because you're single, you want, maybe someone see me, and then you see someone and things work out, guess what? When you wake up the next day and there's no makeup on you, they might turn around and do the what is it, the Irish exit, and you'll never see them again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
It's better to put all your cards out there from the beginning so there's no surprises. And look at that. Nothing's let down.
Yeah, well.
I'm just putting it out there as a female. You don't want to be any, no mask. No costumes. No deceiving.
Yeah, that's the only thing, I don't want to be mean, but that's the only good thing that's come of the COVID, because certain people should be wearing that mask. Not for nothing to spare us.
For sure.
I mean, like, really? Okay. And then what
happens? Just don't even turn the video on with the video chat.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been the only good thing to come out of this, but things are starting to get back to normal. You guys are normal down there. Slowly we're getting back over here. And I think it's coming just in time for when the warmer weather shows up, because we're in March right now, so we should have a couple more snowstorms before, we get April weather again. But come April,
I had to mow my lawn today. Snowstorm.
Yeah,
my grass is growing.
We were like 29 degrees this morning when I got up, and it's going up into the 40s and 50s. But
I think it was 63 today while I was mowing the lawn.
Wow.
Well, it goes down into the 30s for us right now, but then it jumps to the 60s and 70s. So it'll double the temperature from night to day.
Wow.
I still just love the looks I get from the neighbors. You know, it's like 30 degrees outside in the garage, and I'm out there in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And they're all looking at me like I'm crazy.
Because they're puppy
What is this
on.
dude on? And I'm out there working on my Performax or something like I was today. And needless to say, when you're in a neighborhood too, and you know, thankfully the development we live in, we have quite the large yard.
Yeah.
So I can set up an 80-yard range in my backyard. So today I was out after I mowed the lawn today. I took the Performax outside. I just had my brand new gas strings put on the bow and the new podium peep and all that nonsense, and doing all the tweaking. And I'm toying with some arrows. Lately I've been running is Black Eagles, and I got convinced to try out some Victory VTAC arrows. So I've been toying with those.
They're bigger, and you can hit the line easier.
No, I am not. I'm running the same size. I'm running 23s. I'm not running fat sticks. I'm not throwing some Sharpies down the lane. I'm still running 23s. I was running PS 23s before, which I destroyed every single one of them.
Uh-huh.
But now I have both. I have Challengers left over, and then now I have these VTAC. So, you know, I'm doing all my tweaking, my arrow rest adjustments, and my neighbors will literally stop behind me like, you can hit that block from here? And I'm like, it's only 40 yards. And they're all like, 40 yards is not a lot to you? Let me get my hunting bow out. I could put this thing down by the street. You know.
Well, when you're talking to people who don't understand the yardage in relation to shooting certain things, or if people aren't out and they actually don't get the concept, it might seem a lot farther. I mean,
oh yeah, a lot. Like the other day when I was out there before I had the strings done, the one neighbor stopped, and the woman in the car is like, "Are you sure it's safe?"
Okay, wait, rewind. The woman in the game
this
over.
This is where her husband came into play. Her husband literally stops her and goes, "Baby, watch this. Can you see where the lung diagram is in the heart?" And she's like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "Anthony, you still aiming for the heart?" I was like, "Yeah, that's about the size, you know, a little bit smaller than the 10 ring, so that's my aiming point on my target." All right, watch. She's like, "But how far away are you?" I'm like, "Hold on, I pull out my rangefinder. I'm 43 yards, so I'm max of known 40 length." Okay. So wait, you can hit that little thing that says heart. I said, "Give me 1 second." And I drew back and I fired the shot off, and I hit the heart at 43 yards. And she's like, "Oh, we're good now. I ain't worried about you missing the target. Bye-bye." And they like drive off. I'm like, wow, that's all it took was one arrow to convince somebody I'm good. Okay, sweet. All right.
Well,
I don't have to worry about the HOA coming after me now.
Over here, I mean, I get a lot of students from word of mouth and stuff like that. But what I also do is, like in the afternoons when I'm done with work, because I'm working from home these days, who cares? I'm close to the outdoor range. The outdoor range is like 5 minutes away from my house, and that's the only free outdoor range in all of New York City. You don't need a permit. You don't need anything. We've got about 2 football fields across and 109 yards down. So it's a big field. But I go over there and I bring my target with me, and there might be 4 or 5 people out there, and it's the Northeast. So everyone thinks that bows are designed to shoot only 20 yards. And the guys who are out there.
Yeah. I love that. That thought is hysterical to me. They're like, "You want to see a video of me shooting a buffalo at 129? Come on, look, I'll show you." I love showing people this video. Trust me.
The thing is, some people. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Some people.
It's my woman tendency kicking in to just talk over everyone. It's just that female side.
Oh, we're getting canceled. Yes.
Oh, gee.
No, it's funny because some people also have brought up the issue of they think it's unethical to shoot anything over a certain yardage. So like the 20 to 30 range is what you're supposed to be in. Like you put them out in the woods and they can spot and stalk anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, some people think that anything over like 30 or maybe pushing 40 is just unethical to shoot at. So you should never go beyond that certain yardage. And there's no reason to practice at it, and there's no reason to do it, and yada, yada, yada.
Well, up here, frankly, if you shoot a deer at anything more than 20 yards, you're yelled at, screamed at, told that you're a Satan, and that you should not be doing that sort of thing.
Up in New York, I shot one in Orange County at 72, and I got screamed at.
Yeah, I had one picture posted on Facebook. It's the only one I've ever posted. Actually, I didn't post it. Someone posted it for me. one of my friends, he's like, "Oh, here's my buddy Angel. He shot this deer at 93 yards." Okay, picture of me with the buck at 93 yards. The storm that unleashed from these guys was unreal.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And that's, I think that's one of the biggest problems right now that's going on in archery.
And most of them are females too that come after you.
No, not for me. For me, it's been male vegans.
Oh,
but we're going to leave that portion to the side.
Okay, so females, right?
If you want to call them that.
Oh, wow.
Female dog. There we go. Anyway, but to me, that's one of the biggest things in archery right now that there's a problem with. Besides the fact of putting the stress on the kids. But it's if I can't do it, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Listen, it's like, I know for a fact if a deer is under 75 yards, if it's a 150-pound deer roughly, I have no problem hitting it. I can drill that deer, double lung it, no problem. And people are like, well, I can only shoot at 40. Listen, I'm a decent shot. I know I'm a decent shot. I don't even say I'm a good shot. I know I'm a decent shot. I know it. You think I would ever have the sack to tell somebody like Levi, hey, don't you dare shoot that deer at 100. He is the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
He is the man. I'd be like, let me see you shoot it at 100 instead. I'd be sitting there like a cheerleader, like, yeah, please do it. Please do it.
Yeah.
But, it's so horrible. People can't, if you see someone that has the confidence to do it like you, I know for a fact you can do it at 90 plus. I know for a fact I can do it at 75 plus.
Yeah.
I cannot do it at 100.
You probably within 60 you'd be golden because you are a better shot than
I totally missed that. What was it, 102?
What?
That one shot that what was it, a moose?
The moose, yeah. The moose was 99.
No.
Well, it was a down slope. It was actually reading 104. Then with the correction, it was reading 90.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, no. But it's one of those, it's so horrible to see that, people have the confidence to do it. And I mean, this is going on in standard culture anyway, where it's like, well, if I can't, you can't. Stop that. You know?
Yeah.
You got to look at the people that are better and see if you could emulate them. Like me, I could tell you right now, me, my buddy Dougie, Donnie, all of my entire crew, Arthur.
Donnie, you have a crew? When did this happen?
All of our friends, our crew, whatever you want to call them. I don't care which way you want to word it. Every one of us has listened to the notes and ideas and stuff you've said in your podcast yourself. And everyone has been like, yo, if you guys are ever on Angel's podcast, make sure you tell him thank you from all of us, because his little hints and tips and stuff have all made us a better shot.
And don't be that guy.
And, oh, my God. And the don't be that guy segment is epic. I almost cursed there, too.
Oh, we're going to have a don't be that guy part on this one. Don't worry.
Oh, man. Fighting. But that's what I mean. It's like, we look at our crew of people. We look at stuff like you say from the coaching aspect, from the technical knowledge aspect, and we're like, all right, cool. Can we make this work for us?
Mm-hmm.
And like we've had feedback like that because of me, because I've been a mechanic. I mean, I'm 43 years old. I've been working on cars since I'm 12.
Aren't you 44?
No, I'm 43. I'm not that damn old. I'm pushing it, woman. All right. But I know for a fact, I've broken my left hand a couple times. I've broken my right hand twice. I've dislocated joints. So I know for a fact I have nerve damage in my left hand, mm-hmm. especially on the palm region for your thumb, basically where you stick your grip for your riser.
Yeah.
I can't put it the way you see everyone how Dudley shows it, to let it float on the fat, meaty part of your palm. I have no choice but to put the base of the grip on the palm lines in my
mm-hmm.
hands in the middle of my palm.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'm in a lot of pain.
Well, that's like Wallace with his shoulder. He has to set a certain way because of the car accident.
Exactly. And that's actually a perfect example. Jack sets himself in a certain way, and because he was in a death-defying accident is the best way to put it. I don't know how he survived that accident, because I've seen the photos of it. Jesus Christ.
And I've heard him explain to people, like, I do it because of that accident and because it's the only way I can do it now. And I tell people...
you have?
Yeah, I've heard him explain it.
He is fantastic.
And I tell people that, and this is where I get the screamers coming at me. They're like, Oh, well, you're not doing a textbook. Even Dudley shows you how to do a textbook. I said, and if you went up to him and asked him if that is going to be the only way to teach somebody, what do you think he's going to say? Like, he's going to say that you have to do it this way, you don't do it at all. I'm like, no. And this is the problem I have with a lot of
I agree with you 100%.
Because
100%.
it's going to work.
Totally agree with you.
It's going to work for a great majority of people. That's true. But there are going to be people that it doesn't work for. And you have to do things that make it work for them. In your case, you have a hand problem, so you move it over. You make an adjustment. Big deal. So what? It works for you. That may not work for someone else, but because of what you have going on with your hand, you've had to make it work for you, and you make it work fine. If you try to copy some of the best target shooters out there and do what they do, okay, you guys, if you watch YouTube, if you go to shoots, he doesn't do 3D shoots. He does mostly target shoots. But most people have heard of Real Wild. And Real Wild is a world-class shooter. But when he shoots, the dude leans back so far that, like, that's not orthodox, whatever it is. But the guy wins world championships and gold medals all the time. Why? Because this is what works for him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's like you try to watch like Mike Slosher and Stephen Hansen. They got that crazy whatever his name is. Whatever. Right? They got that crazy like European pimpling with like 37 ounces on the front bar, and you're like,
he's got skulls on his stabilizer.
No, that's
that was from Italy. Oh yeah, that's right. He's got skullies on his stabilizer. Like me, punching the trigger works. I don't give a shit what you
like
say.
The guy from PSC. That name.
My ninja chop on my release works.
Yes, you do. Yep. Oh, Stephanie's thumb looks like a hurricane punch when she presses the trigger. So, literally, her thumb is like next to her index finger, and it's like, you just watch it do like this uppercut, like a Mike Tyson uppercut to the thumb button. And I'm like, you really need to stop doing that. And then you look down the range, and she's got a bullseye. I'm like, I'm just going to shut up.
It works for Mike Tyson, and it works for me.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like, I mean, you tell people they got to shoot with back tension. You tell people they got to shoot as soon as they see it on there. There's all kinds of different things that work for people. But like getting back to the people that I see when I'm at the range, okay, so they shoot at 20 yards, and they think it's sacrilege to put it at 30 and 40. Then I show up over there, and, because we call clear, and everybody, because you got to bring your own targets with you over there, everybody walks their target out to wherever it's going to be if they're putting up a new target. So I take my target. They wonder why I keep it on a hand truck, because I got one of these Bulldog targets that's kind of tall. So I'm like, okay, I just put it on the hand truck, and I wheel it out. And, then they all get upset because they're all ready to shoot, and I'm still walking out there. And because I'm walking out to 80 and 90. And the guy's like, what the hell are you going all the way out there for? I'm like, because I'm going to warm up. Like, at 80? I'm like, yeah. What's the point of warming up at 10? So I say, your first shot comes in. You're like, oh, no. And then I'll put it something random, like 83, 84. And that's the other thing I teach my kids. I say, hey, you don't have to put it at 20 unless you're practicing for a tournament. You can put it at 17. You can put it at 23. I don't care. You know what I mean? Especially if they're if they're shooting at a 3D target. And they're like, well, why? I said, okay, hunting experiment. When you're in the woods and you're in that tree stand and the deer comes in and he's at 17.3 yards that you see on the rangefinder, are you going to sit there and wait until he moves exactly to 20? No. Are you going to sit there and wait until he moves to 10? No. Are you going to say, excuse me, Mr. Deer, can you please move to exactly 10 or 20? Pick one of the two, because I can't shoot you if you're not lined up with one of my pins. And they're like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, then why does it make any sense to practice like that? And they're like, now that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So they get that. But these guys are like, what are you doing putting it all the way out there? I'm like, okay, well. And then I hit the first one in there. I usually group them, like at 80, I'll have like a 1-inch or 2-inch group if there's no wind or something like that. And I bop them out there.
You get to shoot in no wind?
Occasionally the wind stops.
Not here, man. I don't know what it is about my neighborhood, but holy, the flags from the developer, them things never stop moving.
Because we were by farmland, so it's all open. There's nothing blocking the wind.
And the thing that shuts them up is they see that I pop them in there, and they're like, oh, so you can actually do it. I said, anybody can. And a lot of these people wind up taking a few lessons here or there, or I just help them out. And, and then you try to explain to them, like, why it's, people shoot it other than 20 yards. Like, I thought you were only supposed to shoot these bows at 20 yards. I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, that ain't the case.
I love that thought.
That's the key word right there. Supposed to.
Yeah. And
that people throw around too much.
It's the same thing. Like, I teach the hunter safety for New York, which right now has gone all virtual, doing it online and all that. I'm like, okay, that's going to generate some real crazy stuff. But we don't do the in-class. They just said, oh, you can start scheduling your in-class stuff. I'm like, okay, maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Don't know, but we'll see what happens. But when I do the in-class stuff, like, I get to tell them about a lot of things that they're not going to read online. And one of the things is, it comes up all the time. Well, you're not supposed to shoot the deer at more than 20 yards. I'm like, okay. And I shut them up with one line. Is it because you can't shoot the deer at 20 yards, like you're not allowed to? Or is it because you're not good enough to shoot it past 20 yards? Like, you haven't practiced at that. And then they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, if you're efficient at doing something, I don't care what the distance is, you can do it. If it's ethically sound, you can get away with it, and it works.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's a video of me shooting. My furthest deer I've ever shot was in a cornfield at 117 yards, 118 yards, something like that. And I tell people the story.
That's when you got to sit there and be like, God, I hope he doesn't move.
I tell people that the whole reason I shot that deer was because he pissed me off. And I'm like, you know, I have my decoy out, and he's walking on a beeline to my decoy, which is only at 40 yards from me. And he's walking on it. He's coming. He gets to about 75 yards, and a doe comes out behind him. And he's like, oh, look at that over there. And he turns around and starts trotting back right to her. And
you're better.
I'm like, really? Okay. And I said, you know what? That's it. I took out the rangefinder. I see where he's at. I'm like, just stop for a second. And he stopped with a quartering shot at me. And I'm like, okay, you're done. And I put it right on him, and I blasted him. And the doe watched him walk 3 steps and drop. And he literally took 3 steps. It was a perfect double lung and heart shot. And he went right down. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's standing there looking at him for about 10 minutes. I'm like, he's got to be dead by now. And then one of my buddies is coming back to the tree, and he's like, so you see anything? I'm like, yeah, he's down in the field. He's like, where? I'm like, out there. He goes, I only see a doe out there. I'm like, yeah, he's dead at her feet. No way. I'm like, yes way.
Yeah, man.
He angered me.
I mean,
yeah, and he's like,
sometimes that's how you got to do it, though.
Yeah, but then he said to me, there's no way that you shot that thing out there. So I shot the doe and dropped her within about 20 steps of him. So I'm like, okay. She had come in because she started to walk towards us for some strange reason, and I got her at 105. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go get them. And the whole way back that we're driving back, I'm giving him the explanation of how this works, what happens, and how shooting at 10 yards is the same thing as shooting at 100, as long as you know what you're doing. He then took lessons from me. He's like,
oh, yeah.
It can't
I would
be
believe
real.
It. Absolutely.
I thought that was only what you saw on YouTube and stuff like that. I'm like, no. And his idea, like everybody else's. People underestimate
so much stuff.
His idea, like everybody else's.
Well, you can even screw up a 20 yard.
Yeah.
I've seen people screw up 5 yards. I mean, there are people that I see shooting down at the range who legit should not be shooting at a deer that's more than 2 yards away from them because they're that bad a shot at 20. And I'm like, really, people? Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Just stay home.
I can, I've shot deer with my recurve. I've shot deer with the compound. The recurve, I'm good to about 30, but I know that's my limit, hunting with that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I know people can shoot recurve out to 50 and 60 and don't care, and they'll hit them and they'll kill them. But me, I'm just like, 30 is my limit, whatever it is. But I tell people, if you know your discipline, it's all fun. And it's all easy, and you can make it happen. But this thing of saying, I can't do it because someone else says I can't, that don't fly with me. It's the same thing I practice with all the kids. Don't let someone else tell you can't do it. It's up to you. If you don't want to do it, then you don't do it. But if you can't do it, and you think that you don't have the ability, then you can learn how to do something. And that really, really works for the kids. Unfortunately, like we live in a world where they just say, well, you're not supposed to. And then they're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to. But we try to break that mold around here, but it's so hard. But, yeah, it's just different, especially up here. You're shooting more than 20. How dare you? I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, whatever you say, dude. And that's the kind of thing that I get, and I get so much of it. But you try to work it through people, and when I'm down there at the field practicing, like once I'm done working, I'll go out there and I'll throw the target out, whatever. A lot of times people will just come to me because they want to learn how to do something like that, and I get a lot of students just that way. They're like, oh, I want to learn how to do that sort of thing. Okay, no problem. And then I've had other people where they ask somebody to teach them how to shoot, and they said, fine, you can shoot no more than 20. I'm like, really? Okay. But that's just the sort of thing that's in the Northeast. I don't think you see that too much down south. I don't think you see that too much out west, because out west, the average shot for people is 50 and 60 yards when they're on those wide open.
Oh, yeah.
Out west, I mean, you're not getting, in most cases, unless you're an elite hunter out west, like guys like Cam Haynes and whatnot, you're not getting within 70 yards of an elk.
Yeah.
So you're taking a bomb of a shot no matter what, because those things seem to be able to hear everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you see the ears on them, you know why.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, it's so funny, too. Like when you see a lot of stuff in hunting videos and stuff that's online, people think like all these animals are all the same. Like deers are hypersensitive to stuff, especially if you try to go to Texas and go after an axis deer. Out west, elk are extremely high-strung animals.
Oh, yeah.
But everyone thinks, the bigger they get, the more high-strung they are. No. Yeah. Let me tell you, if you want to hunt a moose, make as much noise as possible, because they get nervous when it's quiet. Because they can barely hear over their own footsteps. They're so loud.
No, moose
damn things walk through trees and knock trees down.
Those are scary.
They're scary, of course.
Because I had family that used to live up in Maine, and they're big.
It kind of goes along with Maine. There's nothing out there. Everything's kind of big.
Yeah, the fact that you can look at these things and you realize that, okay, I can get trampled by this thing very easily. Like if he decided, you know what, I'm just going to run towards you, and I can just run right over you. I mean, you don't realize looking at them in video and then seeing them in person, it's like, holy shit. Holy shoot.
Well, like a couple of years ago, one of the guys that I grew up hunting with, he showed me a lot about hunting in upstate New York, because he's lived up there all his life. He passed away recently this fall. It's one of the people that I lost this year. We were in the woods on my property up there, on family property, and I'm looking through the binoculars. We're scouting deer, and I look down there. I'm like, who put those 4 trees there? Somebody planted trees on this property? And he's like, let me see that. He takes the binoculars from me. He's like, where? I point to him. Where is it? He's like, holy smokes. I'm like, yeah, who put those trees? He's like, those trees are moving. I'm like, what?
Those trees are moving.
Yeah, those trees were a female moose.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
She looked like she was at 80 yards away. She was really maybe, I don't know. I thought the trees looked like they were close, but they weren't. She was about maybe 90, 100 yards away. She was that big. And then he's like, wait until she starts walking. Wait till she starts walking. You're going to see. You never see moose in upstate New York all that much. That's why there's no hunting season for them. But she walks out, and I look at that thing. First of all, no offense, but a female moose is like the god ugliest thing you've ever seen. Without the horns, it's not an attractive animal. But
no, it's not. They actually look kind of goofy without the horns.
Yeah. But then she turned and she looked at her head turned towards me, and I looked at the size of this animal, and I'm like, yeah, that's Jurassic Park walking around. And we had never seen one like that before, and people think that you can just get up close next to these animals and do whatever you want. And like, no, that thing will stomp the hell out of you. I've been on moose hunts before.
Think bears are cute and cuddly.
Oh, no. Bears, I've gotten close to bears because upstate New York, there's a lot of bears.
Yeah,
black bears. A lot everywhere.
We've gotten, I mean, being in a car was the closest that I've gotten, and it was probably like in a normal two-way street. If you're sitting on one side, the bear was on just the other side of the street, and that's the closest I've ever gotten to one. And I have to tell you that I don't want to get any closer than that to a bear. No. And these people like
black bears are tiny. The brown bears are what's the problem.
The Jersey area that they outlawed hunting bear.
Mm-hmm.
And was that still in?
I think it's I think Jersey passed it, didn't they? He would know more than we would.
In New Jersey, currently in New Jersey, you can't hunt black bear on state land. You can only hunt them on private land. So their populations.
And that's the reason now we have black bear invading all of the upstate area of South Carolina right
Really?
now.
But the thing is,
we're in one of the districts where black bear permits are actually handed out now.
Wow.
And it's so funny. I mean, like, you see all these animals. I mean, there's a lot of really good organizations, like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is one of them. I got a text message from one of the guys I used to work with up north, and it was, "What is this animal? I've never seen this before." And it was a female elk. I'm like, "Oh, it's a female elk." He's like, "Dude, I live in Pennsylvania. I'm not in Colorado." It's like, no, and I had to explain the whole thing. Hey, listen, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, they sedated 90 of them. They moved them to Kentucky. They were protected by law, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and now apparently there's like 30-something thousand of them, and they've moved in the last 2 years. They've gone from western Pennsylvania, and they're finding them now in eastern Pennsylvania. Yep. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "How much is this female weigh?" I'm like, "I don't know, about 700 pounds." He's like, "That'll mess a car up, won't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, mess a car up. You might die if it comes through your windshield. Just as a precaution, stay away from it." That's
like hitting a moose. They tell you
mooses are 2Gs. They're heavy.
No. My point is that if you hit one with a car, you're pretty much done because you take the legs out and the whole body falls on the center of the car. Mm-hmm. So you're pretty much done at that point.
Mm-hmm. No, you're done. It's wild now. You see all these agencies protecting all these animals and getting the populations to grow and move back to where they haven't been for 100 years.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
You know, it is crazy. I mean, you let politicians decide on stuff and they screw it all up. They don't listen to the biologists who tell you that you can't do this or you can't do that. And like I tell people, you go to Yellowstone, you're going to see somebody get attacked by a bear. Why? Because they think it's Yogi Bear. It's not Yogi Bear.
Yep.
Yeah. Yellowstone's got a problem right now with brown bears.
Yep.
Montana's got grizzlies moving back in. Granted, grizzlies and brown bears are technically the same thing, just different food diet. So one gets absurdly large in comparison to the other.
Yeah, but guess what? I don't want to be face to face with the grizzly.
No, I don't even face to face with the brown bear, the ones that don't eat fish and don't get massive. No.
Actually, aren't polar bears even larger?
Polar bears kill everything.
Yeah.
But they're the largest. Am I not correct with that?
Black bears be loud and nasty because loud sounds kind of intimidate them. Brown bears, grizzlies.
Yeah.
But do grizzlies pound for pound get bigger than polars, or polar the largest?
A grizzly can be the tallest bear you'll ever see, and I've run into one that that bear literally tried to shake me out of a tree in Canada, and it came up, and we were not hunting bear, we were hunting deer, and it's freezing cold, and this thing walked across because there was a bait pile maybe 100 yards somewhere else because they were hunting bear like the previous week. This thing walked across, took interest in me, and started to shake my tree. And I'm in the tree stand, and I have a bow. I don't have my gun. I don't hunt with guns. So I have a bow there, and I'm like, if I have to put one in this thing's eye, I'm going to put one in this thing's eye. And I radio the guide, and he goes, "Unless he tries to kill you, don't harm it because he wouldn't have a permit for it." Like,
man, if he's trying to come up the tree, well, if he shakes the tree and I'm in it, it's called poop could be falling out the tree because it's coming out of my butt.
I'm going to turn back into Friday and start slinging poop balls at him.
All he told me was stay still, and he is like they have very short-term memory. He's going to look away and forget that you're up there, and as long as you're not smelling like potatoes or something like that or something greasy, he's going to walk away. That's exactly what he did. He just walked away after about 20 minutes. But I was like, I mean, people, it makes me laugh, like how little people know about a lot of these animals. Like, I mean, there was a video not that long ago that popped up on, I think, on like Instagram. This black bear climbed a tree, and the hunter is just staring at him. And
was the woman talking to it?
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
No, this guy was just sitting there, and down south, for people that don't know, we have a hog problem. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you're in the woods down here, you don't need your pistol permit a lot of times because the game wardens are cool.
Yeah.
So they want you to have, if you're going to be bow hunting, a lot of times you'll see the guys with the chest holsters, and we all have our guns on us. Like, I'll go out with my pistol on my chest, whatever. And this bear decides, I'm going to climb up this tree. has no idea there's a tree stand up in this tree. This dude is trying to stay calm, looks down at the bear. The bear's getting closer. About 6 feet away, he takes the gun out of the holster and just looks at it. The bear looks at him dead in the eyes. The dude racks this 45 Smith & Wesson. The bear was like, peace out, brother, and just climbed back down the tree and took off. Like, oh, maybe that bear has heard a round getting chambered once before? Or...
Well, it's like that woman that was in her sitting in the tree stand, and she's looking at this bear climbing up the tree, and she's talking to him. Like just saying, you're not supposed to be up here, you need to go, and the bear's just looking at her a couple minutes and then just decides to leave.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be that calm. I know you're supposed to be, but I don't know.
Well, the bears are the reason. The bears are the reason I stopped hunting Jersey, where I used to hunt Jersey, because they just got too many of them. I mean, when I count 25 bears in a day, that's a problem for my tree stand.
Oh my God! Hell no!
And then imagine it like this: you're hunting in the fall, when they have young cubs running around with them, who are still attached.
Oh yeah,
to
so they're like murder on sight. Yeah,
and you're walking to your stand in the dark, and I've seen baby bear eyes out in the distance in the dark when I use my flashlight. Like, if the baby's there, where is mommy? And I am not taking that chance. So the bear population got to the point where I stopped hunting those areas, and with them not allowing bear hunting anymore, who knows what those areas are like right now. But it's the mentality that people have. They're like, it can't hurt me. The cartoon would never hurt me. Why would this one hurt me? Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that was like, I got a phone call probably about a month ago. And this is the one that kind of like will freak you out a bit, because this is not something you hear often. Same kind of situation. One of the guys that I knew from a Pennsylvania shop for the company I work for calls up and says, hey, I need you to identify something for me, because they had known me from the shop I was at in New York. He's like, what is this? He's like, why does this odd? He's like, I've seen coyotes. This is bigger than a coyote. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait for the photo to come through. And the photo comes through. I'm like, if you see it again, shoot it. He's like, was it just like a really big coyote? I'm like, no, that's a wolf. Like, you're in Western Pennsylvania. You can legally shoot wolves if they're on your property. If you see that wolf out there, shoot the wolf.
They're like gang members.
He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yes. He's like, shoot the wolf, because God forbid you let your dog go outside, go to the bathroom, whatever. That wolf's going to eat your dog, attack your kid. Mm-hmm. It is a big, big wolf.
They're smart too.
And he wasn't like, you sure it's not a German Shepherd? Like, no. Did you notice all the spiked teeth? Like, that's not a German Shepherd, buddy. Let me tell you, that's a wolf. That's a 120+ pound wolf.
How do you confuse a German Shepherd and a wolf? I don't know.
I've seen that happen.
I feel like I can distinctly, if you set two pictures in front of me, I feel like I can tell them apart.
There's a breed, well, I almost said species. There's a breed of German Shepherds that are extremely long-haired, and they end up looking like black wolves.
Yeah.
No, not really.
I've seen those before. Yeah, I've seen those before like that. Up here, my property in upstate New York, which is why I don't go as often as I'd like, it's a 6.5 hour drive for me. Well, 6.5 hours the way I drive, 4.5 depending on if you're Speedy Gonzalez and want to just floor it at 90 the whole way up, which I don't do. But it's a long way up, and a couple of years ago we had a serious problem with coyotes. I mean, they were everywhere. And all of a sudden, like 2 years ago, we didn't hear a single coyote anymore. Didn't even see sign of them. And last year, then I heard why. Because in the middle of the night, I heard howling. And I'm like, that's not a coyote. Yeah. That's a wolf. That means there's
a pack in the area. If wolves ain't there, I mean, if coyotes ain't there, it means you got wolves in the area.
So whatever coyotes were there either ran off or they got eaten. Because that's what happens with these wolves. They kill everything on sight. They don't care.
Yep.
And they just tend to the
area. They don't mess around.
They spread. But again, it's like what TV and movies do for people is like they condition them to believe that this is not going to hurt us. And it's the same way what people see on TV. They're like, oh, you should only be doing this. You should only be doing that. And I'm like, no, it's not like that for everything. But no,
it's not.
Even with the example I use is, for example, yesterday I'm buying the new car. Okay. We talked about buying a car before. It's the same thing with buying a bow. So, like, people think that you just walk into a store and it's like, here's what I have to get. This is what it is. Because if you watch some of these TV shows, these people are like, well, this is what you should get and that's all you need. And, like, okay, if that's what it's going to be. So you're going to walk into a store because you saw the guy on TV. You're going to buy this bow because he says to buy that bow, and you're going to put a Garmin sight on it to cost you $1,000 when you know nothing about it, and you're going to walk out like that. And there's a percentage of people who believe that. And I'm like,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You see that all the time. And I tell people, buy what you can afford, buy what works for you, and hopefully the guy will do the right thing for you, and you'll get something that's not going to break your bank, and you're going to be just fine. But it's gotten to the point with all the options out there where it's almost like buying a car these days. And people want to buy a new bow. Some people want to buy a new bow every year. Some people want to, they want to hang on to the bow as long as possible. The guys out there at Saluda River, I'm sure they're really good at how they treat people, like telling them how to do this. This is what you need, or maybe this is what you need. Like when
someone comes into that shop, and I've witnessed them do it, it's okay, I'm interested in this and that, and I've seen this bow, and, of course,
Cam shoots a 90-pound Hoyt.
Oh, gosh.
No, Cam was not able to get a 90-pound Hoyt this year, and someone had to custom modify a bow for him. Anyway, and I've seen them literally say, okay, listen, we have the XR, or now the new model is the V3, the 27, we have 31. We also have the mission bows and this, that. They will pull a slew of bows out.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to try this, that, the other, and they have a bunch of bows, all sights. Granted, it's like simple stuff, whisker biscuits, 3-pin apexes, or something like that. And they will give a person, okay, you want this, that, the other, blah, 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 and they let people shoot every single bow and give them pretty much like the red carpet service of, okay, what do you want to try? I mean, but that's also, it's one of the reasons why in South Carolina, they're one of the biggest shops known. I mean, I think they're number one for the entire state for Matthews sales. Yes.
You can say the name. It's not. It's okay.
I started the whole
sure
thing.
It's okay.
Whatever. Anyway, I mean, I think right now nationally they're in. I think they're number 60 or 61 for Matthews. So there's a reason behind their reputation in our area, and it's wild when you see it. And here I am, like my normal self, the lone PSE guy, and I'm like, oh, I get to try the new PSE toy.
You're not the lone PSE
I'm one
guy.
Of them.
Stop it.
I am one of them for sure.
Did you try
if
the new
PSE? If you shot
PSE
an
bow?
Elite, maybe. Oh my!
Yes.
Oh, don't even get him started on that.
The new Evil 32.
It's the EVL.
Whatever, Evil. Even the guys from PSE call it the Evil.
No, not the guys from PSE. The guys who were reviewing PSE.
Okay.
Like, it's the EVL, but in short, Evil. You're not really shortening anything because the EVL is actually technically shorter than the Evil because it's less letters.
I think in one of the PSE commercials they actually pronounce it the Evil bow.
He does.
And mine is on the
hey,
way.
Whose side are you on?
They're back ordered. I mean, the PSE's been back ordered with a lot of stuff for a long time. Because once COVID hit, everyone's just started buying everything that was available. I sold out of my whole inventory within about, I'd say, 6 weeks after COVID hit. I had nothing.
Oh, I can believe it. I mean, especially now, people are like, we see a lot of, I see a lot of complaints because I'm the PSE guy at the house, about, it's taking so long for me to get my PSE carbon bow.
Yeah.
You do know that section of the factory had a large fire, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
And they do know that's the only carbon that's not made outside the United States. That one is made here.
Yeah, exactly.
In the PSE
factory.
Easton? Yeah, sure. But
ooh, that's a hot topic in our
but the thing is that, like, I tell people, like, if you want to order a bow, order it now because it's going to take you 6 to 8 weeks on the offset to get it. It's not like I want to be mean. I'm just telling you that's how long it takes. And some people are like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm like, okay, bye-bye. See you. This is what it is. I play in reality, not in, wishful thinking. I'm not going to sell you something and tell you it's going to be here in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks you come by, they're like, oh, well, I want it. Where's my bow? I'm like, I don't know. I'll call. It's a little delay, and you try to stretch them out, whatever. I'm like, they tell me what the delay is, how long it's going to be, an estimate. My guys over there will tell me it's going to take you 6 weeks, it's going to take you 4 weeks, whatever, for production. And I tell people that. And you see a lot of that sort of that stuff going on. My personal bow has not gotten here yet, and that's been as soon as the bow got released, that order was in. So I won't see that one, I think, for another week or something like that. But I have an EVL 34 coming in. So
oh, nice. Yeah, I only shot the 32 so far.
So my 34 is coming in, an 80 pounder coming in that way, all blacked out and all that. Because embarrassingly enough, I decided to go black with my bow again because I had black bows for years, and then like the last 3 years, because I change them every year, I decided, well, I'm going to get camo, whatever, and twice in the last 3 years, I put my bow down in the woods and could not find it for 25 minutes. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. Like I would never get the mossy oak again because that literally blends into everything that we have, for the country camo that PSE had. I'm like, yeah, that was a mistake. Put that down, could not find it in the leaves for anything. Go to help somebody with something. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. The Cuyu Verde, the same thing happened to it. I'm like, no, I'm just getting black. And people are like, well, if the deer sees it in black, he's going to spot you right away. I'm like, if the deer looks up and sees a black bow looking at him, it's already too late. He's dead.
Yeah, but that's one of those comments also that makes me laugh. It's like, oh, if it sees, it's like, you do know they see in black and white, correct? Like, it's going to think a black bow is in a tree. It's going to think it's a branch.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it makes me laugh. Like some of the techniques that I've joked around with people, which I think are jokes. And when I say it, they're like, oh, you're so stupid. And funny. Like, well, when you go through the woods, how do you hide the fact that you have your bow with you? I'm like, this is going to sound stupid. I put it on my backpack with the cams facing up.
What?
They're like, what? Yeah. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, from distance, it looks like the rack on another animal.
It does look like that.
They'll just stand there like dummies. They're just like, what the hell is that? And they'll just stand there and look at you. And if you see the deer, you just go behind a tree, take it off your backpack, lean out, shoot the deer, lean back behind the tree, and you're good to go. But you've done that 3 times.
That's a really, really cool thing to do. However, as a hunter safety instructor, I would remind you that in the Northeast, most people will mistake you for a deer and shoot you. So over here, that's the sort of thing you do over here. I actually had a guy that I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but I was like, okay. And I see him walking through the woods. It was in Jersey. And the rattling antlers that you have, those plastic ones you can buy? Yeah. He had them tied to the back of his pack towards the top. And when he was walking, especially when he was hunched over trying to carry his tree stand, it quite literally looked like a buck's rack walking through there. And I'm like, you are going to get shot. I mean, that is literally antlers on your back. He goes, I didn't think a big deal about it. I said, the person who's going to shoot you probably won't think a big deal, but they're supposed to look at check what they're shooting. I'm like, supposed to and do are 2 different things. Don't count
people without antler straps to them get shot.
Yeah. So I'm like, dude, you don't do that. Now your thing, I can see doing that to disguise your view out there, but in the Northeast over here, it's dangerous. But most people know backpack hunt out here. Actually, people don't even know what that is out here. The average hunter in the Northeast, we talked about this with some of the guys that I saw on the line during target shooting, but let's face it, the average hunter out here is not the most fit person in the world. They don't.
That's a lot of hunters across the country.
Yeah, the tree stand gut.
The tree stand.
The tree stand.
The gut.
They're tree stand guys who go into the tree stands and they sit, and then they do sits. But when you go out west, you're walking. You're walking a lot. Mm-hmm. You're walking miles. You're stalking. You're doing everything. You're crawling on your hands and knees trying to get close to something. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. The same reason I tell people, like, if you're going to go book a $10,000 hunt, you better make sure you can shoot at least 50 or 60 yards because the guides are not going to get you 20 yards away from something in most cases, especially elk. And they're like, no, that's not possible. And I've had a customer go to somebody, and when he got out there, the guy's like, you better be able to shoot 40 or 50. I can probably get you as close as 50, but no closer. And the guy's like, what do you mean? And they're like, this is open plains. We're hunting them below the tree line. They're going to be at 70, 80 yards at most shots. We can try to get you as close as 50. And like that just blew his mind. And the following year he came back to me because he wasted, I think it was like $18,000 on that trip because he couldn't get within 80 of any animal. He's like, you got to teach me how to shoot far. I'm like, I'll teach you anything you want. I warned you about that. I told you it was going to happen. Yep. It just cost you $18,000 because you didn't believe me. So that's what happened to him. And the guide actually said, I will not let, two things happened to him. One, he wound up shooting in a blind and didn't get a shot. He shot a whitetail instead of shooting an elk like he wanted to shoot. Luckily, they had whitetail around. I don't know what place it was that he had two of those things in the same place because you really don't see them in the same place. But it was probably some cage farm or something like that. I don't know. But the guy would not let him shoot at the elk because he says, well, if you're going to go on the elk, we got to qualify you that you can actually shoot. Now, I've started to see more and more of these people do that, where they want to make sure that the person who they're taking out hunting actually knows what they're doing. And the guy couldn't hit anything past 30 yards. And he's like, then you're not hunting elk out here because we're not going to let you wing one all the way out there and just wound something. So they
really want it to be ethical too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Plus, the way he described it, because he wouldn't tell me exactly where it was. It sounded more and more like he was hunting some high fence big ranch or something like that somewhere, where if you wound it, you buy it or something like that. But they get their money either way. So apparently he couldn't do it, so they said, no, you're not going to do it. And the following year, he went back and he got himself an elk, I think it's 71 yards. But that was after taking a lot of lessons and learning how to do it. And he put his nose to the dirt. He was like, I'm going to keep doing this every single day. And I would show up at the range, and he was already there. And he was trying to do his thing.
Nice.
But it worked out for him, That's all it – and I tell people, simplify your setup. Don't go crazy. Don't do this. Don't do that. And they do it, and it works. Or they don't want to listen, and they go and they buy – you don't know how many Garmin sites I saw out here on the range that I told people, like, it's not going to make you – it's going to guess the range for me and all that. I'm like, it's not going to make you a better shot. And it didn't. And a lot of people – you don't see any of those sites out here anymore. Why? Because people put two and two together, well, after spending $1,000 on the site, that it didn't do it for them. Just because it tells you what the distance is doesn't mean you can magically shoot 100 yards now. So if you couldn't shoot 100 yards before, you can't shoot 100 yards now. Whether or not it can actually range it for you and do all that is irrelevant. And that was the one thing people were missing on all that. Like, you still have to learn how to shoot. And they thought that it would take a 20-yard shooter and turn him into a 100-yard shooter. It did not. But there are some things that come out that do help people. The Bomar nose button, that's helped a ton of people that I know. Like, sticking it on there gives you another point of reference. Great. Yeah, it works perfectly. And using that sort of thing has worked. Your shot trainer, simple shot trainer, that sort of thing, that helps people like you have no idea. I have a guy who I'm going to do a podcast with tomorrow night or Tuesday that, you remember the red dot sights that you put on a shotgun? He found
I actually got an email from someone that produces one.
Yeah, he found a way to mount it on a bow. And it actually works, no peep or anything like that. He called me up. One of his friends called me up about 2 months ago, says, hey, listen, I got a guy who's coming out with this. He's trying to get it out there. You're the guru of putting stuff on Instagram. Could you help him out? And sure. So I was going to buy one from him. He says, no, I'll send you one. And he sent me one. And I got it. I mounted it on one of the bows over here, and I had one of the girls shoot it with no peep or anything like that. I got to tell you, the thing is crazy. It actually does the thing. And she was shooting 44 yards with it and had no problem, no peep or anything like that. She was getting like a 3-inch group at 44 yards. And she never shot that sight before. I'm like, well, there's obviously something to it. It's just like, Aaron Lasko, he came out with the EZV sight. Most people are like, well, that could never work. Guess what? It works for a lot of people. So there's different things that come out that, like, they can be useful. And you can do something like that. But if people are not willing to try them, they don't work. And then there's other things that are hyped to death that suck. You're always going to have the two extremes with that. But it's those things. I'm just glad that now that we're back and I can resume doing the podcast, I can cover all the stuff that people want now. I mean, most people don't know why I've been gone for the last 2 months, and we had a lot of family issues. I had the loss of a grandmother and stuff like that, and that kind of screwed things up. Then going through the divorce thing and all that messed up a lot of stuff. So, it's been a lot of ups and downs.
We've gotten questions from people.
Well, the thing is that
what's going on. Make people, especially after they found out with the car accident here in our house.
Yeah,
it's been like, all right, good, cool. We know everything in your house is good now, and because we're in contact with so many of the archery podcasters. I mean, between you and then Rich from Archery. Wow, I'm brain farting so hard right now. Archery Geek Outdoors, Rob Jones from Off the Arrow Shelf. Like, like those guys, and they're all like, "Hey, man, what's going on? I mean, you guys have been gone. Now we know. Okay, yeah, it was an accident. What's going on with Angel?" I'm like,
well,
look, I talked to Angel. Angel's good. He's dealing with the stuff, but he'll be back soon. And it's like it's one of those where like people don't realize, even in like just archery, everyone's a tight knit community. The podcasting guys from the archery community are all tight knit with each other. So,
well, the thing is that we don't do this as like a base of income or like our sole thing or trying to get. And so it's pretty much like, okay, well, if we had other things going on that kind of overrule this, then we don't see it as, oh, we have to do this every week or we have to. It's just okay, you want to record? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, my thing is that it kind of hurt because I use this as a tool to get out to the students that I can't see all the time, and it helps a lot of people that I know and gives them tips. And there's a lot of people out in the country who have come to listen to it a lot, and then not being able to do it because of everything that was going on. That not only raised a lot of questions, like, are you okay? What's going on? And I was, not for nothing, the archery community, like you said, it's a very tight-knit community, but even people who don't know you, who listen to you casually or something like that, they start emailing you, and I was averaging about 40, 50 emails a week, like, when's the next podcast? Is everything okay? And I was still getting all the questions from the listeners, like technical questions, and that's probably the only thing that I did keep normal, like, even with everything upside down in the life, I was still answering the technical questions for them, and I still do that because if I can do it, like I can't produce a podcast while all that was going on. But it hurt being away from the students and all that for a long time. But now that I'm back, it's time to go full steam into it because I was doing the learning series and I was doing the video stuff. Now within the next week, I'll have the other parts of the learning series and the videos all recorded and all that. And people get to see what I look like and stuff. Dropped all the COVID weight and stuff, and that
weight.
that was a big deal. I actually took part in filming of a documentary that they did on whitetail management and stuff like that. Back in November they started, and when they started in October, November, I was probably 40 pounds heavier, a little bit more than 40 pounds.
Wow.
Good for you, man. That's great shedding that much weight.
They came back in January to film another part of it where they wanted to get some other interviews, and it occurred to them, like, you don't look the same. And I'm like, gee, you think? I mean, is this going to screw up your filming? Because it turned out they want to focus a lot on when they're still producing it, and it should be done in April or something like that, or May for the film festival. So it's sponsored by some big outdoor company or whatever. But they turned the whole thing from just being like other guys who are out there, they want to film people doing deer hunts and stuff like that for conservation stuff. Like, then they focused they said they're focusing a lot of the majority of the film on me and the program I have, the podcast and the kids and Leanne and stuff like that. So they were like, you look a lot different now. I'm like, yeah, but it's one of those things. Like, I got involved in a lot of different stuff, and now it's all coming back around, which is perfect. But like I said, you take things one day at a time. You can't just rush stuff out there, because I'd rather do something the right way than just throw some garbage out there that's going to be of no use to anybody. But now it's going to work, and we're going to see what happens. But, you guys with your stuff that you have, I mean, your shot trainer and all the other tools that you're making, those people out there who are going to see that stuff are going to want to come to you and get more of that stuff. And I'm going to put those in my videos, be like, well, you see this? This is how you level a bow with this type of device. And no, it's not a Hamsky that you spend $60 on. You can get it from them, do this, and, teach people how to do it.
Yeah.
I think they'll like it.
I mean, I never knock any of those companies. I mean, Hamsky makes like super, super high-end stuff. So, and you can't take it away from it. They all make fantastic stuff.
Of course.
Mean, you have, top of the line tools. I mean, granted, the people that are involved in the company are top notch people as it is.
Yeah.
And ours, when people ask me, like, well, our shot trainer is probably one of the cheapest on the market. Even the pocket quiver that I do right now is pretty much one of the cheaper ones on the market. And it's like, we get the question of, well, does the price reflect the quality? And I'm like, no, not really. It's just the price happens to reflect that we're two middle-class people, and we're trying to make products for people like us, not for the elite in the sport. I know a lot of people that would just go gung-ho and buy everything elite because, Levi owns it.
But we're also not trying to support an overhead.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just us.
Yeah. We don't have an overhead. We don't have a staff. We don't have everything else that we need to support on top of it. Like these other companies are trying to, they have all these other things that they have to pay for what they're doing. So that price reflects everything behind just besides just the one item.
Even if you think about the machinery that's involved, I mean, if you get let's say a third axis level from Hamsky, someone had to probably pay I think a cheap CNC machine, a cheap real CNC machine is like 30 G's.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Exactly.
We're doing it with a 3D printer at 100th of the cost.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's no reason I have to charge $100 or something.
No, and
that's not to take it away from them.
But at the same time, you're making something that actually works, that the average person can afford without breaking the bank on it. Because not for nothing, the Hamskys have their place. Pro shops use them. Guys who do this and can afford to do it, fine. But let's just say it's a kid and wants, he's learning how to do something. He'd have to save up money to buy that Hamsky, and he may not be able to. But something middle of the road, like what you guys make, is going to be a lot easier for him to afford. And not for nothing, the thing with the shot trainers, you make cool colors. Other people don't. You know what I mean? So,
oh my God! People down here have just realized that we make that the crystal colored one, the clear one. Mm-hmm. They call it transparent. It's not really transparent. It looks more like crystal. People are like, "Oh, that's cool." All they seen was the black ones we make, which is standard because every shot trainer on the planet really is made in black and black metal, or some kind of
Well, because dirty being in your pocket going through a course, you're not going to see it as much.
And people have just found out in our area because Stephanie's products are at Saluda River Archery. They actually have them on the shelves there in the pro shop there. And they're like, where did this clear one come from? Oh, I've been making them for months. What do you mean you've been making them for months? I'm like, dude, you went on Stephanie's store and ordered your pocket quiver and a sling from her? He's like, okay. The photo you looked at had a black one and a crystal one. Did you not miss the select which color you want button? I'm like,
they have to actually select it from his drop down menu.
Yeah. So it just makes me laugh. And now, we're messing with other colors and filaments that I'm toying around with. Like the pocket quiver we make, which is also, the pocket quiver we do is, you have it on the site for $20 with shipping included.
Yeah.
And it's one of those stupid things. Yes, it fits in your back pocket, and then you get the stupid question of why is there 7 holes? It's got 7 holes because I'm a dummy. I lose my pen all the time, so I have enough holes for 6 arrows and a pen. That's how it works. And then I get the guys that ask, and I don't guess it's just like brain dead, didn't think about it. All of our group and the guys I shoot with, everybody shoots either 23 series, 25 series, or 26 series arrows.
Yeah.
And I purposely made it for 3D events where guys were getting sick and tired of carrying this huge quiver on their hips. All I need is my rangefinder, and they all wear the chest pack. So we all have our binos and our rangefinders on our chest. But it became okay, I have to now have my chest pack, I have my hip quiver, and that was, I get the hey, how about you try and make one of these? Okay, cool, fine. I'll make this, and we'll hand it out to the guys in the shop, and then if it works out, we'll put it on Stephanie's store, fine. But now I've gotten the guys that only shoot the hunting size arrows, or our friends that shoot recurves, because they all shoot 19 series arrows, going, hey, can you reduce the size but keep the height the same? So right now I'm refitting all the measurements and stuff to this way it'll fit your standard 19 series arrows. I've also had guys that shoot indoor events for like NFAA events and stuff that are allowed to go to 27.
Yeah.
I kind of made this thing originally where 26 would be the max. For some reason my brain just zoned in on 3D archery and you can't go past 26 to 3D. So now it's like, oh man, so now we might have to have 3 different sizes of these things. And now is asking, well, everything on my bow is, on both of my bows, everything is black and fluorescent green. Well, are you going to make a fluorescent green quiver? I'm like, really wasn't planning on it. Come on, bro, you got to do it. I'm like, oh my God. So now we get to ask for more colors and who's got the the people like you running purple for everything. I got requests for a purple quiver now and a purple shot trainer. And I'm like, all right, listen, let me work on some stuff now. You know, everyone knows, like Stephanie's Shooting Skulls business, all the paracord that she gets is all U.S. sourced business.
Yeah.
Everything is U.S. sourced business. On the portion that I've been working on, which is all the 3D printing stuff, it's been quite hard to find a U.S. based filament company. Like I can get the printer itself from a U.S. company, but well, it came across through me joining a bunch of forums and stuff like that. Now everything we have is U.S. sourced. Even the filament we get is from factories here in the States.
Yeah.
So it's one of those big things that, like, a lot of companies thankfully are doing. It's like, all right, you know, U.S. products, U.S. products, U.S. products. And we just like went gung-ho on her end. And since the 3D side was the smaller portion, I was like, all right, you know, we'll get what we can get. And okay, now we're getting a lot more orders. Now I definitely have to make sure the whole aspect now. But so now everything.
And it's a little odd because we got to talk about the order in kilos. I feel like we're doing something illegal.
Yeah. That's how it is. Everything on 3D printing is, it's a kilo, it's a kilogram roll. And stuff's like, I have to order stuff in kilos? Why does this sound horrible?
Well, so I'm sure you'll come up with other things because people are going to ask for them and all that sort of stuff. And they're going to wind up in a pro shop somewhere, and people are going to be buying them from pro shops, and your business is going to be all big. And then some gigantic conglomerate is going to want to buy the design from you, and you'll make your money, and you'll have a mansion somewhere. And you know,
the one I'm working on right now, I'm not going to say what it is. It might create a lot of problems in the industry.
Really?
It might.
Well, make sure you send me one.
What are you talking about?
Oh, no, I'm going to send you one. It's going to be like one. I'm working on it. I'll say it's a scope.
Yeah.
It's a scope. And, but it's going to be strange at first. I mean, I have 2 iterations of it already in my engineering program and stuff like that. And
are we going to have to deal with UltraView?
No, we are not. They are single pin, and I am not making a single pin sight. So I'm just going to leave that at that because I have a lot more work.
It's a UV 3.5.
No, it's not a UV 3.5.
So we're sure.
But yeah, it should be interesting.
It's going to be different, I'm sure, and it'll have your own flair on it, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Of course, I'll see one before.
Well, I mean, it's going to have our flair on it because obviously it's going to be like, you know, we keep all of our ass stuff in business.
Well, it's kind of like War-Torn's shot trainer. If I put that bubble level on it, then I'd be swimming in the waters of being sued.
No.
Yeah. You told me that we can put the bubble level on it.
On the shot trainer, yes, that could be a conflict because I mean whatever. But the site that I'm doing, like everyone's seen what UltraView made since Stephanie had mentioned UltraView. That is technically, in most cases, even though they say they have a hunting cartridge, it's a target sight.
It is. Yeah.
I'm not making a target sight. In any way, shape, or form. I'm going to cater to the guys that are going to be in the woods, like we've already spoken about, who are going to try and, all right, maybe my max is 50, or 60, whatever. It's going to be I'm working on a 5-pin sight.
You know it's not going to happen.
Whatever. I don't care.
Because, the guys are like, hey, man, you have a hunting setup. Can you, I go to all these events. You make a setup for me? And you're like, yeah, sure.
Well, no, we've gotten that before where it's like, how about you try and make this? No. A lot of companies already make that. I don't want to get into a pool
of sewage waters.
No, I don't want to get in the crowded
like
pool.
Stewing waters, but not actual sewage. I mean, like stewing.
Oh yeah, that might be
sewage.
True. Yeah,
that's sewage waters.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to stay away. I'm trying to stay away from products that I know for a fact 100 people are making. Like the shot trainer, there's basically 4 companies.
Yep.
Ours is 3D printed. It's simple. It's effective.
4.
4.
War-Torn, Knock On.
And 3. It's pretty much
4.
Oh, whatever. Okay, so there's like whatever 3 or 4, whatever it is, whatever the damn number is. The third axis level, pretty much about the same thing. Under a handful of companies that are making them. And the scope thing is a lot of the aftermarket scopes that are made. They're all target based.
Yep.
All your hunting scopes are made. HHA makes their own scopes. Why? Because it goes on their site. You know, Excel makes their own soap. Why? Because it goes on their site. You know, same thing with CBE. You know, I'm trying to work on something catered just towards the hunter because, let's face it, the tournament pool is flooded with people. So I don't even want to go near that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is not going to be something that's going to be for them. There's going to be some aspects I'm going to take from the tournament side and give it to the hunter guys, but we'll see how it works out.
And I'll be the first one to throw it on my bow and use it in the field. Trust me, because
that's fine. That's fine.
And we're like, oh, there's a deer at 96 yards, and here is this scope that Anthony created.
Wow, you better have a slider. It'll be set up where it can. Right now, the drawings I have.
Don't get too much into it. I don't want someone stealing your idea. But no.
Yeah, no. You'll be able to put it on like Excels and all that.
I have all those, so that's not a problem. I got Excel spot hogs. I've got everything out here that I can possibly use for it. So I will wind up putting it on something for sure. But we're all waiting to see what you come out with that. Now we've been pretty much all over the map with all kinds of other stuff. It's usually fun, but comes to that part of the show that I want to do. It'll be the first time I ever do it with anybody else on the show, where we're going to answer listener questions. So let's start with the first one. Charles P. of Weidman, Michigan. I don't know where the hell that is, but he wrote this. I got my granddaughter a bow for Christmas from the local pro shop. Oh, boy. Bought her a Genesis bow, and the guy said it would be the absolute best thing for her, and if I had any questions, to just come down and see them. They said it would be perfect for her and would last her a few years. They sold them a Genesis bow. It's supposed to last them a few years. Okay. My granddaughter is 16, and frankly, this thing is too small for her, I think. But when I took her there for a lesson, they didn't even pay attention to us. They charged us $55 for a 1-hour lesson and basically spent 5 minutes with her. Funny thing, they were so attentive when I was buying it, but now they didn't even look like they cared. What can I do? Help is always appreciated. So, depending on the pro shop you go to, this is something I hear a lot, or it could be something that's never happens. But it sounds like he went there for Christmas, asked to get something for his granddaughter, and they took whatever was on the shelf, like, here you go, and it's the greatest thing since cheese. I don't know if you guys know what a Genesis bow is, but Matthews makes them, and they're meant for NASP competition, and they're also meant for a universal bow that the whole family can use because there's no set draw length on them. But for them to say it'll last her a few years and she's 16, it'll be perfect, maybe they're looking at it from the NASP aspect where they thought maybe she's going to shoot something like that. But I don't see the problem in the bow. I see the problem with what happened after he went back to take a lesson where they spent 5 minutes. Like, they're all over him when he's making a purchase for Christmas. Now he brings it back to actually take a lesson. They spend 5 minutes with her and charge him $55 for the hour, and they could care less. That, unfortunately, is something I see a lot of.
They're just trying to make a quick paycheck is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to run through whatever inventory to make sure it doesn't sit, because the longer it sits, the more money they lose on it. And as long as they can get it out of the shop and they can make the money back on it, then they'll tell you whatever they think you want to hear. Yeah. So if he was buying it for his granddaughter, then they're probably feeding into that whole factor. Mm-hmm. And, once that's sold and then he comes back, you kind of only have to, then you can back it down to like 50% of the service that you've provided. Until the fact that, okay, if they don't show back up, well, they already spent the money in the bow.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
But the thing that really disturbs me is they took her for a lesson and charged her $55 for a lesson and spent 5 minutes with her. I mean, I've seen a lot of that too. What I'd say to him, and this is what I replied to him in the email, I said, best thing you can do is take her somewhere else to actually get real lessons with it. Let her become proficient with the bow. And then after that, if she really wants to continue on, then you can get her something else. But in the meantime, let's just see what she can do, but get an actual real coaching session, not where someone just says, here, this is a bow, this is an arrow, pull it back, shoot it, have a nice day, bye-bye. Because it sounds like that's kind of what they did to her.
I agree.
Yeah,
that would be, to me, step one would be go somewhere else.
Yeah, just go somewhere else. Next question comes from Barry W. of Edison, New Jersey. I read this one. I responded to the guy. I'm going to edit it for content a little bit because it was kind of like really screaming. I recently purchased a Quest bow from ... I omitted the shop's name because I know the guy who owns it and I actually know the shop. I paid over $800 for the bow with a sight and 6 arrows. I didn't feel it was all that great in the shop, but I took his word and have been shooting it for the last 2 weeks. Now the cables are wearing out already. When I took it back to him he said I should call the company and they couldn't do anything with it. He just bought it a couple of weeks ago, and now the guy's saying call the company. Okay.
Oh.
I know you're close by, and lots of my friends got work done by you. Is there anything I can do with this? All he says, I had to talk to the company. If I wanted a better experience, maybe I should switch to a more expensive bow like the other one he was showing me. I'm more than a little angry, but everyone is telling me to find out from you what can be done with this bow. Thanks, he says. Okay.
I got a destination where he can put that bow. But...
So he buys the bow, comes back 2 weeks later because the cables are wearing out, and the guy tells him call the company. Yeah. What I told them was bring it to me or bring it to another reliable shop. If the cables are wearing out, he may have to call the company if they're going to warranty the cables. If they're not going to warranty the cables, take your loss. Don't deal with the shop you were dealing with again, and just get a new set of strings or cables for it and be done. Probably the strings weren't put on there properly. There might have been something wrong with them. There may have been something with a setting he's changed or how they tuned it. He replied to me in an email, and he says, what tuning? He didn't do any tuning. He just put the rest on, put the arrow on, didn't even check anything, and sent me out the door. I'm like, okay, there could be something wrong there. But I told him, I said, best not go back there again and just, get a new set of strings and cables. Don't give up on the bow. Doesn't mean the bow is bad. But this is something, again, that's popular with the one-and-done sort of people. You leave the store, you come back, and, they act like they don't know you, or they just tell you, call the company, it's not my problem, even though they're a dealer for it. And he's kind of notorious for doing this sort of thing.
I think it is Matthews that I know that if you are a certified dealer for Matthews, I'm just using it as an example of Matthews, that if you're a certified dealer to sell Matthews, that any warranty bows, people can bring back to you, whether they bought it at your shop or not. Mm-hmm. And they have to actually handle it through Matthews, or they'll lose their contract with Matthews.
Yeah, I have the same thing with PSE. So with PSE, it doesn't have to be a bow that I ever sold or anything like that. I got people who bought bows 10 years ago, and they come to me for warranty on it. I'm like, yeah, it's no problem. Right. If they're going to cover the warranty, I'll do the work on it. No big deal. PSE will tell you that the customer is responsible for labor on it. But, if it's coming, they come to me because they have a warranty with a roller glide that broke or something like that. I usually have those parts in stock. I'll switch it for them. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. It's not a big deal. It doesn't cost you anything. If it's limbs and stuff like that, then I tell them, listen, I can get you the limbs. If they warranty it, I'll get you the limbs. And I charge $40 or whatever it is to put the limbs on, whatever. Because it's taking the whole bow apart, and then I got to tune it for them and all that. And they all understand that as long as you communicate it to them up front. But people who sell bows should have a responsibility to deal with the company who manufactures it. Apparently this guy doesn't want to do that, and he has a reputation for doing that. So like the other guy, just tell him go somewhere else. And if not, then look me up. I'll try to help you. In his case, I told him to take it back to him and say, hey, listen, you got to contact the company for me. And he actually did. And
my only question in that type of situation with the strings wearing so fast is I've had that question come up before, and it's from actually one of our buddies that's listening to us, and we email each other back and forth all the time. And he had kind of a similar situation.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no, your string shouldn't be wearing out that fast. I'm like, and I finally asked him, how many hours are you shooting a day? Oh, 250. I'm like, wait a minute, whoa. Are you telling me you put 5,000 arrows through this bow in a month? Oh yeah, somewhere around there. I'm like, whoa, okay. There's a good chance they're wearing out.
Especially the first set of factory strings that come on the bow are usually not the best grade. So if you're going to
zebras?
No, zebras are top of the line. What are you talking about?
My experience with zebras in particular during the 2 years when I actually shot at Matthews was extreme string elongation.
Yes.
Shouldn't males like that?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh wow!
Family friendly show. Yeah.
I did not cuss to say any other words.
No. So they tend to strike.
I don't know, you're gonna have some students asking you some questions.
And as Greg Poole has said, strings don't stretch; they elongate. Would people please get the difference between the two? I'm like, yeah, because if they stretch, then they're going to contract back. These things don't. Zebra strings tend to stretch a lot. It's just something that happens with them. But some people swear about it. I think it's the individual experience that has to do with it. But this guy,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I said, Steph Sheets Matthews and every bow Stephanie's ever had. I don't know if it's elongation issues, but it looks like her peep sight's on Tourette's. The thing just twists and moves all over the place. I mean, she'll be at full draw, and I'll like literally reach out, straighten the peep out.
Yeah, I have peep movement problems.
I'll have the guys put another twist in the string. 2 weeks later, it's twisting all over the place. I'm like, can we just please buy you some ABBs or gas?
Now I just got a whole an actual whole process I go through every time I shoot is just to adjust the peep.
Yeah, she moves her D loop in order to get the peep to line up every single time.
Yep.
Oh, that's so bad. You better
and
off.
It's not like she doesn't have contacts. I mean, she has contacts with people at ABB because the people that work there have ordered custom-made slings and vinyl straps of her. I'm like, can you just pick up the phone? Like, can you please you have a VXR 28. You have a very nice bow.
Oh, I love my bow.
Yes, your bow. Well, you finally got a bow that fits you.
Yeah.
Someone you should realize at 5'2", they should not be shooting a 35-inch bow for hunting.
So,
anyway.
So one question I got for you is: does the peep rotate when you pull back, or it's already rotated on the string, and when you pull it back, you're just trying to get it to line up?
It depends on how it feels for the day. So it's actually done both. It's actually
it does.
Yeah,
it's so true.
It is. It's like a woman. It depends on how it feels for that day of what it does. So it'll actually be twisted.
On the rag at the same time.
Yep. So it'll be and. See, I'm more family friendly than you are.
I didn't curse.
So, yeah, it'll actually. I found that some days it'll actually just be twisting on the peak at just standing still, and then pulling back into full draw. Other days it will decide to twist coming back, and that's why I have my friendly assistant over here actually fix it for me.
Yeah, that just one thing you can do when you're back at the pro shop over there the next time. Have them take like an inch and a half long piece of D-loop and make 2 balls on the end and just put it through your string like towards the top of the cam. You know, not where it's going to roll into the cam when you go to full draw, but just towards the top of the cam, and just put that in there and see if it still happens. And then if it does happen a little bit, slide it down the string just a little bit. So make sure it's above the peep, whatever, but just slide it down the string a little bit and see if it stops. More than likely, your strings have got issues with either heat or they got issues with being too long or not. Or usually how it actually starts happening, and I've seen it a million times, is from people who, you know, when you go to a shop and they're trying to find out where your peep sight should be, they slide it up and down. Yeah, that's bad. They slide it up and down. That sort of thing happens all the time. So people look at me when I set up the peeps for people, and they're like, how come those peeps don't rotate? You got to sit exactly straight. I'm like, because after I figure out where your beep's going to be, I take it out of the bow, leave it marked with a piece of string that I know is where you need it to be, and I measure it, and I shoot the bow about 10 times, and I put it back in exactly where that was. I don't slide it up and down. And once they do that, it never rotates again. And
yeah, with Stephanie's bow, I'm the one that gets cussed at half the time if there's a problem because ever since she had her Vertex was another bow that was notorious for the peep just moving all over the place. Yeah. The same thing, factory zebra strings, and I'll tie the peep in my way, which looks like that Levi Morgan instructional video where you do the twist around the where the strings wire around the peep sight. Yeah, it takes him 25 minutes to cut it off. So, because I go to town and, you know, I got big old fat meat hands from being a mechanic for years. There is no way you're getting any of the stitching I put in to come loose. So, and then they'll come out and be like, hey, you tied this on, didn't you? I'm like, yep. I hate when you tie Stephanie's peep sights in. Jesus. I'm like, it was twisted. Like, what do you want me to do? I'll add a couple extra strings, give it a little tug with, you know, with my my bow pliers, get it to where, okay, good, it'll stay straight for like 6 weeks.
And then
I'm like, all right, she's happy, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I'm at the point where after like the 3rd or 4th time where a twist is added or something, I'm just like, Steph, please just
Yeah,
please, just buy you a new set of strings.
I either get new strings or I would take that piece of D-loop, stick it up above the top, above the peep, all the way as high as you can go, and just slide it up and down until it stops. The other thing is, when you're at Saluda River, take a look at your center serving and check to see if your center serving looks a little funky. If it does,
no, her bow's perfect. Her bow is her center serving, everything on that. Her knocks lock in perfectly, and I mean the bow is built like a tank. This Matthews that she has,
yeah,
and everything about it. I mean, center serving not worn out slightly. It's just a peep. And I love Matthews. Everyone knows I like Matthews bows. I think the grips are trash.
No, they're not. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Listen, you got little.
No, because I got the Ultra View on mine. Yeah. And I do not like that at all.
Yeah, you don't like it because it's bigger. Let me tell you something. If I had a Matthews right now, an outside company makes 100 times better grip than Matthews, hands down. I would shoot any Matthews right now with that grip.
It depends on the person.
No,
it's not a universal opinion.
That's fine. It's like Hoyt to me. I love the Hoyt grip, but if someone can get out the pitchfork harmonic out of the damn riser where it's not in my hand going, I'd be good to go. Okay, it's like there's the little things that drive me nuts. To me, it's all about the feel. That's why I like the PSEs, hand on the riser. I don't do the whole tennis racket tape, and everyone looks at me when I'm 27, and we're doing the South Carolina deep freeze shoot on January 3rd or something like that. It was cold.
No, PSE was rough to shoot on my hand though.
Yeah, which PSE?
My Evolve.
Yeah, okay. You shot you shot your Stinger perfectly because it had a nice narrow grip. Then you went to the Evolve 35, a bow that's 3/4 of your height.
That's kind of big.
When the whole time I'm like, you should get the 31. I want the 35. You need the 31. You're 5'2".
Oh my God.
It's go big or go home.
Yeah, and this is what you hear on our podcast: the husband and wife being retarded.
Well,
but,
going back to what I said about the center serving, if your center serving ever starts to wear out, cut it off and put another one on. I had 2 strings they brought to me with the same exact problem, and at the factory, somebody wound them too tight. And when I did that, and I just let it sit out, and I just rewound it again under the normal pressure, it stopped rotating. So maybe they can check that. Otherwise, take your husband's advice and get another set of strings.
Yeah, please.
I'm so cheap, though.
And especially, too,
so cheap.
Have you seen any of the new Matthews lately?
I'm a woman who doesn't want to spend money.
Oh, boy.
You're the oddball when it comes to
It's like a unicorn.
I'll tell you that.
And which Matthews do you have?
Oh, she's got a VXR 28.
Yeah.
A VXR 28.
And the year before that, she had a Verdict.
No, it's 2. No, a year and a half.
The year before.
And what color string are you fond of?
Oh,
come on, this is our house of green.
Yeah, well, no, the thing is, though, I have the OD color now, the OD green, the ambush green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going on that color scheme now.
Well, okay. So if I were to send you a set of strings, do you want them a knock-on green or the OD, like sort of darker green?
Ooh, the OD green.
OD? Okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll make you up a set of strings and send it to you. And then will you put them on the bow, please?
Oh, she'll put them on the bow. Oh, no, they'll go on. Because that's what I'm saying, too. Like I said, I like the Matthews, but I'm sorry. Especially now, I know everyone's on the speed knock craze.
Yeah.
But if you look at the VXR 28, even the new V3s, they got half of the fucking... oh, my God. Sorry. They got half of the Terminator on the string. There is 4 sections of speed knocks, upper and lower, and I'm like, really? You needed to put 30 speed knocks worth of weight on this thing?
It's like putting a sticker on a car. It makes it faster for every sticker. So you don't have to keep slapping them on.
Buddy Nick would love that comment with his Honda.
So our response to Mr. Barry after all this is go somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last listener call-in question is this. And funny you should mention an Evolve 35 because Craig H. of Miami, Florida. Hi, we just started to get back into shooting 3D as we've got some free time. I've been shooting my PSE Evolve 35, coinky dink, for the last 2 years, but it's always had this squeak in it when I draw back. I lost a shot at a big pig last fall because of the noise. The guys at the shop say this is normal for the bow, but I'm not convinced of it. I hear my buddy's bow, which is a PSE knock-on edition, I know exactly, the NTN bow, and it's dead silent. These guys were telling me to buy that one and there would be no noise. Don't know what to do with this one. Any advice you can give me before returning this bow through the shop's window would be welcome. Okay.
Wow. All right.
Okay, this is what you do. If you're going after, he said he was going after hogs?
Yeah.
Okay, you take it by the end of the bow and you swing it at the hog, and then you're sure as shit gonna get it. Sure as shit gonna get it.
I answered him about this. He replied back to me and he put the fix in it that I gave him, and he says, "Why couldn't they tell me this?" I'm like, I have no idea.
They wanted to sell it.
Yeah, and this is a common problem. I shot a 35 for like 2 years. I loved that bow, but with that cam system that's on there, which is the best cam system they've ever come out with, the Evolve Cam. Mm-hmm. It has a module that moves back and forth. Unfortunately, once you start getting some dust or dirt in between the module and the cam, you get squeaking. And people don't know how to get rid of it. And I tell people, take the module off, remember what letter it was on, clean it, clean the other side where it touches the cam, take some bow wax and wax the inside of the module and wax where it touches the cam. Not a lot, just a little bit. Put it back on. Squeak, be gone. And it's worked for everyone who's ever had this problem. So to him, I would like I told him, yeah, this is just a simple fix. That bow is not supposed to be shot with a squeak. The engineers did not design a squeak into the bow. They're just trying to sell them something else that they didn't want to fix, or they didn't know how to fix it. And it's okay to say, I don't know how to do something. I don't know how to do everything in archery. There are things I don't know. Same thing with the shop. There are going to be things that they don't know. But they can at least call the factory and say, hey, I got this problem, and what can I do with it? And then the factory will tell them, this is what you should do. How did I find out how to fix it? I talked to a tech at the factory when I was over there. I said, my bow's got the same squeak. And the guy goes, yeah, sometimes you get dust here. Take a look, do this. And if you want to take an extra precaution, put some lube in there. I'm like, oh, okay. And I've been telling everyone to do the same thing. It's not like they're going to keep a secret like that to themselves. But, I see a lot of that. Like, if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to say it's something wrong with the bow. That's not necessarily true, and it's not right for anybody to do that. But
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Like, to me, especially with PSE is notorious for updating something almost yearly.
Yep.
Matthews kind of does the same with some of their aspects. I mean, right now it's like how much more horizontal can we get our limbs? Now they're past horizontal, which is absurd.
Bowtech just updates every time they take someone else's idea. Right?
Yeah, for Matthews. Okay. Yeah. But all right, when Stephanie first got her Evolve 35, since we mentioned hers, Stephanie's bow had the same squeak. I did the whole thing with the wax on the modules and everything.
Well, also attack. When I was resting my bow down, I was getting dirt kind of
on everything.
Shoved there. Yeah.
Also, the thing that I noticed with hers, and now I'm not sure if his has it. Stephanie's was one of the original first batches of Evolve 35s.
Yeah.
That had the TRS slide bar.
Yeah. I had one with and one without. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which induces a ton of horizontal pressure as the bow is at full close. Get rid of that thing if it's on your bow and get an FRS. This way your pressure is equal front to back, closed, full draw, and that'll also create take a lot of the torsional pull off the limbs, which will reduce a lot of the squeaking sound.
Yeah, it's like a $30 or $40 part, and I put those on people's bows before I retrofitted them on there because they make a retrofit kit, and it works just fine. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times
it works great. I have it on my inertia. Yeah. My bow pre-Evolve Cam. I have I went from when I took the TRS off of Stephanie's Evolve, I put it on my inertia, and then I was like, nope, this thing's junk, and I switched every PSE we have in the house to FRS kit. Mm-hmm. Fantastic upgrade for any of them.
You try one thing. If that doesn't work, then you move on to something else. But you're right, between that slide and the and that cam thing, one of the two is what the problem is, and he should be able to figure that out. And that brings us to the Don't Be That Guy segment. And I want to get your input on this Don't Be That Guy, because everyone has issues when they go to a store. They can go to a store to buy, a new watch. They can go to a store to buy a car. They can go to a store to buy a bow. But when they go there, it's the responsibility of whoever's the salesperson to take care of the customer. But my thing is, there are salespeople out there who, and like I said, when you go to a big box store, we talked about this when we were on your podcast, you go to a big box store, the people that you see out there, they don't necessarily know what they're doing, and it's not their fault because they get an hour of training. But when you go into a pro shop, that story doesn't fly. I'm sorry. You're working in a pro shop. You should know what you'd be doing. That's why they call it a pro shop. But
I agree.
They should not be that guy who's going to work behind the counter over there and tell people that your stuff is messed up just so they can buy something different, when there's nothing wrong with the bow and they obviously know what to fix on it. They should not be that guy who does that sort of thing just to rip somebody off instead of saying, hey, we know what's wrong with your bow, but if you want to upgrade this, that, otherwise we can just fix that. I don't know if you guys see a lot of that down there. I see a heck of a lot of that up here. And it drives me crazy when they do that because they don't care. They just want to make a quick buck. I mean, seriously? And you're going to tell somebody that their hardware is junk because you don't want to fix it, or you rather just make money on your stuff? If you're in for service and you advertise that sort of thing, then you should be able to work on anybody's bow who they bring to you if you know how to do it. And what do you guys think? Do you see a lot of that going on down there? I'm sure not at Saluda, but there's other people who are probably known for that sort of thing.
I've heard about stuff like that down here in South Carolina on the opposite side of the state.
The used car salesman mentality.
Yeah. Like toward the Myrtle Beach side, we've heard about a couple of shops in Myrtle Beach and Charleston that do that, and one, I believe, in Columbia.
Yeah.
It tends to be more toward higher populated areas where you can get a lot of traffic in and out, whereas it seems that the areas that aren't by a densely populated area,
right.
It's not that much because if you do that to one person out in an area where there's not as much traffic or densely populated, then the word is going to get around and you're definitely going to lose almost all your business.
Yeah. Like the two shops in this area, we go to Seward River primarily. Mm-hmm. The other shop that's local to us is Archery Shack, and he's notoriously known pretty much almost around the world right now when it comes to making bowstrings.
Yeah.
Jeremy and TJ, I always screw his name up and call him JT, but it's TJ.
And he'll work on anything. He doesn't care what
they work
it
on
is.
Everything.
Yeah.
It don't matter what it is, but and I think that's where that comes to what Stephanie's point was about the population density of the area. On this side, since we're considered to be in the upstate, this is more like the good old boy area, so you don't see that much here. You see a lot of face-to-face, no problem, we'll take care of it, I don't care what you own.
You build a relationship with people.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So, and I've had strings from Jeremy on my inertia. He makes top-notch stuff. And it's stupid that I bought him from him. I didn't know how close when we first moved here, how close Anderson was compared to where we lived.
Yeah.
I had him ship him to me, and then I had Saluda put him on, and they all left. They were like, he's like 20 minutes from here, right? I'm like, Anderson's that close? I don't know where I am. I'm from New York. GPS is my savior right now in this state. But, it in our view here, we don't see it much because there's none of that cutthroat mentality here, really.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, that you don't have that sort of thing happening. When here I'm in the New York City metro area, there's a lot of that sort of stuff that goes on. In New Jersey, you'll see some of that stuff sometimes. Unfortunately, it's just a victim of where we are right now. Like, people are out to make money, whatever, and they have a different idea of customer service than other people do, and they just want to go ahead and do whatever they can do. And they try to get by on the fact that there's so many people in the area, like you said, that if someone gets pissed off and never wants to come back to them again, so what? There's a ton of other people who can get away with that, and they'll get another customer the same way. But when you're talking about a smaller area, like an upstate area, there's not that many people up there. So they rely on the people who are coming over there to spread the word for them and also to be repeat customers. Some of these guys don't live on repeat customers, so that's why I say don't be that guy who screws over a customer just because you want to make a sale. Live for a repeat customer. Let them come back. Just don't do that sort of thing. We see too much of that, and I think it's sad, but it's just something that people have to be aware of, and it does happen. But we've been all over the map on this podcast. everywhere you can think of, left, right, up, and down. It's been 2 hours of fun, which now I get to convert.
I feel like that's our trademark now. We're just like scattered.
We are the meme podcast of the archery world, boy. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We get love from so many people, and some people we get so much hate from. They're like, oh my God, you guys cuss.
Oh, yeah,
what do you think?
We're a disgrace to the archery world.
Yeah. We've gotten called a disgrace to the archery world because we cuss, because I'm not a professional giving advice. I tend not to give people advice. I just tell people what I'm doing and what happens to work for me and her. Mm-hmm. And people construe things extremely the wrong way. But I mean, we've also had people give us crap about the fact that we talk about, the family situation.
Yeah.
This is why we've been gone, and we'll share, and we're not afraid to share. And hell, I shared the whole thing when I got a death threat, because if you ever show an animal that you killed, blah, 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 we're going to attack your family. I'll freely admit I ruined that dude's life.
Your brainwashed wife that you have.
Yeah, I brainwashed my wife. Yeah, okay. That's the best thing. That shows me, and it's dead proof when we have like our friends on, like Don and Doug. They're like, if you think Anthony brainwashes Steph, you have mental problems.
I think I brainwash you.
Yeah. People are like, they're like, it's the opposite. Stephanie tells Anthony what's going on.
Well,
like, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, the podcast I was on with you guys, it was probably one of your more downloaded podcasts. I seen the numbers on it. I'm like, really? Wow. That thing had a lot of downloads on there. Hopefully that'll happen the same way with this one. So it's always good to mix up things a little bit, and that just keeps people listening. That one I've been told by people, like, they couldn't stop listening to it. They had to hear what you'd say next.
Yeah. We had a lot of comments were like, bro, you got Angel to break the mold. I'm like, you got him to actually cuss. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was like, me and Angel have had phone call conversations. I'm like, I knew exactly which buttons to push. Trust me.
Now,
it's like, wait, Jim Carrey and Sonic as the villain pushing the red button.
Yeah.
So we've been,
true.
Like I said, we've been all over the map. We spent 2 hours on this thing, and like, we all have to get up for work tomorrow, because like, I go to work tomorrow, you go to work tomorrow. Steffi has the most important job. She's a mom who's got to go to work tomorrow and do her other things. So
I work evenings, man. I'm golden.
So but the one thing before we go ahead and close this out, can you think of one single good thing that's come about since this whole COVID thing happened? Because I got one in the back of my head, but I bet you don't know what it is.
One good thing to happen about this COVID
stuff. Because of this COVID, one good thing has happened, and I bet people don't know what it is.
Oh, man.
Wow, I'm kind of
wow.
Besides the fact of how much more I've learned about archery and tuning bows and stuff now.
Okay.
I mean, I have been paying a lot more attention to that. Like, even when it came to my Performax, like I said, I had the new strings input on it yesterday, and we couldn't get it to do a bullet hole to save its life yesterday. And I came home and I tweaked everything on it, and I can put the arrow on a pin out to 60 right now in my backyard. I don't even know.
Well,
I don't know, because on our end we have a child who needs to go to therapy in school every day. So when he got stuck home, that was
torture. That was torture for him. That kid, having an autistic child who can't expend energy because he couldn't go to school was like nightmarish.
Well, so mine, and this is where my Jekyll and Hyde side comes out. There is a good thing that's come about since COVID. And most people wouldn't think I'd be saying this, but you know what? I'm going to say it anyway. And if I'm starting to delve into my southern drawls, because this is my bad side that's coming out. But so the whole good thing is,
this segment should be on our podcast.
Oh, if we record a segment for your podcast, it'll be a lot more colorful. Trust me. So the one good thing that has happened, I mean, we've had bad stuff happen, like Vegas got canceled. And then you had the ATA show that was canceled. But you know what good came out of that ATA show being canceled? People are going to say, well, nothing. I'm like, well, they went virtual, but there's one good thing. And the good thing was there's no Outdoors Alley as the spokesperson for it.
Oh, God, I second that one. Oh my gosh, she needs to be cut off. She needs to be like no video for her Zoom.
It has been so good to hear so much less of her mouth and her misleading stuff that COVID has taken that away from her. I don't know if it's killed off all the idiots that used to listen to her, but her popularity has gone down the tubes from what I understand. And I didn't have to have her once associated with the ATA again. Now, granted, I have not done the virtual tour, but if she's on the virtual tour, I will delete it immediately from any recording that I'm supposed to be listening to. But whatever. So I have not seen her. And you know what? Even better. Like I told you guys in the last podcast, I was about to buy that expensive OMP bow vise until I saw her using it like a moron. And I'm like, I will never buy this. But she has faded from the limelight. And guess what? I bought the new one. So now I am proud to own an OMP bow vise, which I bought with my own money, okay, because nobody gives me anything with the exception of you guys who gave me that. I mean, that stuff.
Yeah, but
I bought my own bow vise, and I will only say I bought that because she's no longer associated with it.
There you go.
It was only a matter of time before she fell off the planet, and it has happened. So we're not seeing her little cameos in the middle of the woods trying to shoot something that she has no hope of shooting.
Yeah, I have to say, now that I'm actually paying attention to it, I haven't had to hear her voice on YouTube.
Yeah.
I bet you. I can tell you right now, out of the two women that I know for a fact, you and Rich's wife would be cheering that fact on. Like, thank God she's not around. Her voice is like nails on a chalkboard.
Does this mean her boyfriend actually has to get a job?
They own their own company. But I don't know, man. I think at times when I watched her videos, I mean, the nuance of the new hunter and stuff like that. But she started becoming like very, very like poppy. Like you seen like a Valley Girl portion come out. But at one point when like all like the bow vice thing, like you said, I was like, that's not how you do that. You know?
Yeah.
And then when she put her NXT 33 in the bow press, I sat there with like my elbows on my knees going, the bow's going to pop out. I know it. I just like sat there in anticipation. Like I hate to say it. I love PSEs, but that was the one I wanted to see explode.
Well, that was the whole thing. Like it, how can I say this? It made me seriously reconsider whether or not I wanted to remain a PSE dealer when I saw her with a PSE bow. I'm like, they gave her a PSE bow. They gave, and I sat there staring at the screen saying over and over like I was in a trance, they gave her a PSE bow. She was shooting a Matthews. That was fine. Wreck it. They gave her a PSE bow, and now she's showing people how to do stuff incorrectly on it, and she's butchering. Well, it was bad.
Like some of her comments in her video made me laugh. Like for years when she was shooting, who was she shooting? A Matthews Avail.
Yeah. I
would repeatedly comment, Allie, please measure your draw length. Your draw length is wrong. Mm-hmm. Your arrows are the wrong length. Your draw length is wrong. You have your draw length is so short, I can see the bow forcing your left shoulder into your neck.
Yeah.
Please get this corrected. You're going to mess up your rotator cuff. Your elbow is going to get tendonitis. Please fix this. And I would literally get replies. I got rid of a reply from her boyfriend one time, Nick. And it was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
She only has to worry about the wear and tear on her knees, dude.
Like, bro, I'm 43 years old. I've probably been shooting since before you were born. I know damage to having shoulder problems. I'm a mechanic. My left shoulder is shot. I have to do, after watching other people and how they draw, I can actually correct that issue now by moving much slower. But it's like, please, it's like, you try to point out the correct thing. It's like, you can see by the video, the draw length is at least an inch and a quarter short easily, and then they finally did it and it was like, oh my God, I'm not a 27. I'm a 29 because she's like 5'10" and has long arms. Like, oh no, she was 28 and a half or something like that, whatever. But still, it was like, people have been pointing this out to you for 2 years. So you have basically possibly committed 2 years of permanent damage possibly to your rotator cuff. And all along, guess what? All the jackasses like myself in the comments were correct.
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid.
And to see her do the sort of things that she did, the way she draws the bow and she pulls it down, which they tell you never to pull it down. And I'm like, and people are looking at this as an instructional video. That's where I had all the issues with it. And if you're not a subject matter expert, don't pretend to be one. And you're doing more harm than good. And I had a girl, well, she wasn't really a girl, she was a woman, come down to the range, at the outdoor range. And like I said, when I'm there, some people know who I am, other people don't. She didn't. And I see her doing this, and I had one of my girls go up to her and ask her, like, where did she learn to draw like that? Because she was actually in pain after like the 10th shot. And she goes, oh, I was watching this girl in a video. And I'm like, what girl could she put? So I went over there and talked to her. I said, not for nothing, who are you watching in a video? She goes, oh, this great girl named Allie. And I literally blew my stack. I was like, what?
Yeah, please unsubscribe. Please.
I said, look, I am a professional coach. I'm going to coach you for the next half hour at no charge. I'm going to show you how to shoot and draw properly. Please, for the love of God and all that is holy, never put that woman's channel on again. And that's all I'm asking in return. And she's like, really?
Oh, yeah.
And I spent half an hour, 45 minutes showing her how to shoot a bow. She goes, this is completely the opposite of what she's showing people on TV. And it doesn't hurt me. I'm like, there you go. Mm-hmm. Now go home.
And I agree with you 100%. Like, people have asked me like stuff like that because my inertia is at 74 pounds. I can draw back an 80+ pound bow, no problem. Mm-hmm. And people are like, well, people who draw across chest, the guys who do kind of like the almost like the overhead, like you're doing a pull-up maneuver, so you get both of your lats completely involved in whatever. Well, I've seen Cam Hanes pull like this. It's like, first off, Cam Hanes is elite. Yep. Cam Hanes is a genetic absolute freak. Don't try to do it. Just because you see guys like Cam Hanes and, behemoths like Josh Bomar do something, don't even remotely think you can do that. If you want to learn the starter ways, the most healthiest way, so you're not going to ruin a rotator cuff or something, and you need instructions on strength, please go to guys like Archery Strong. He's a physical therapist. He knows what he's talking about. It's like, just because this guy does that, and that's how he drew. Well, Cam can draw 92 pounds. Let me tell you something. Cam has killed more stuff on this planet than most everybody. Right? He is an elite hunter. Guys like Dudley, elite, those guys are enormous. I mean,
they've been doing this for decades.
Yeah. There's not many guys like Josh Bomar that say, I killed a bear with a spear, I mean, and a homemade one at that. But, it's just like people just go way overboard on some of the stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Especially if they're taking, criticism or advice from Allie. Don't do that.
Yeah. And with regards to Josh Bomar, great guy, great stuff he comes up with, but the dude was developed in a lab somewhere. I don't care what anyone says. But he looks
the
like
only one who could design a squirt bottle and patent it under his own name.
He looks like they came up with he looks like they came up with him in some lab somewhere. He's like some Superman or something.
He does. I know. He is the guy that you figured came out of that Captain America injection with the gamma ray machine in Captain America.
This is what the Nazis,
somehow was like this scrawny guy and comes out like Hercules. You swear every time you watch him work out, all you see is some little guy in the background standing on his back screaming traps. Because his entire upper back is nothing but giant traps. It's huge.
Or this is what like some super weapon left over after the Cold War. This is what we got.
Yeah, no joke.
But great guy otherwise. But the whole Allie thing, that was the only good. Like I said, someone that I was once very close to, they put into my head, like, you can't see the bad and everything. There has to be some good you can see in it. So when I kept thinking, like, what good can come out of the COVID thing? She came out of it. Literally. She's been sucked out of the limelight. So now we have something good that came out of COVID. I mean, we have a cure and we have no more Allie.
Actually, for us, like I said, my technical knowledge has skyrocketed just because I've gotten time to play with everything. And probably the other best thing for us out of COVID is Stephanie's business is like skyrocketed.
Oh yeah, people like to shop online when they're sitting at home.
Oh my God. Stephanie wakes up in the morning like, what is up with people ordering stuff at 1 a.m.?
Yeah, it's always at 1, 2 a.m. It's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, because she didn't tell you about the infomercials that she put out there?
I mean, Apparently, I must be missing something.
Instead of ShamWow, I took his time slot.
ShamWow.
Yeah, so there is good in everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
You know?
I'm right after the My Pillow, Our Pillow, and Shooting Skulls.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like I said, I couldn't go in an episode without mentioning that person because I usually don't like to mention her by name, but it's time. We mentioned her by name just to get her out of here. But
it's like Voldemort.
Well, I think right now she's moved from like YouTube to TikTok, and the TikTok comments are as bad as the YouTube comments. It's just a nonstop barrage of "don't do this, don't listen to this, don't do that." The only thing she's managed to kill in her entire career is grouse. So stop listening.
And we have doubts about that one too. So
yeah.
Did that, or if she found roadkill? One of the two.
I'm shooting 43 pounds with FMJs. Good job. Wrong arrows. You should not be shooting 500 grain arrows at 40 pounds. I got news for you. You know, especially with a draw length that's 2 inches too short.
So you know, it's been a blast with you guys on here. The next thing that I'll come out with will be another podcast this week with the guy with that red dot sight, and I'll put some pictures on there as well. And also the video series I got to put in there and get that rolling on YouTube and frighten enough kids with seeing me on video. We'll see what happens. But we'll get all that going, and then we'll do another one of these, sometime soon. A VXR 28 strings with OD green. Yeah, we'll be putting that together for you and getting that out there to you. Did you guys?
Oh my God, she's smiling right now.
Did you guys run out of your liquid enhancement or not?
Oh no, trust me. We have found a local store for Stephanie's tequila. That's for sure.
For the stuff that I sent her, that stuff is already gone?
Geez, yeah, that's been gone.
Wow.
Been gone.
Okay.
After the accident, Stephanie needed like a week of just relaxing at night.
And which one did you prefer? You preferred the clear one or the Rosado?
Oh, no, the white,
right?
The Blanco.
Okay, the Blanco.
Yeah, the Blanco. I say it's so white, like Blanco. The Spanish behind it.
Terramana Blanco. Yeah. Well, the two packages that I was trying to get out to you guys for the longest time will be heading out your way. So we'll get you the strings. I'll make sure to I had made the banana bread like 4 times trying to get that out to you, but because of everything that happened, I couldn't get it out there. So we'll send that along with the fletching jig that I still have sitting in the box, ready to go to you. That's going to go. Your strings are going to go. You're going to get a banana bread out there and a few other odds and ends that I can possibly send to you without stirring up anything in the U.S. Postal Service's like security division. So we'll send some stuff out to you.
I think once Anthony finishes up what he's working on, then I think our packages will just be high-fiving each other as they
go
the opposite way. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I have most of them. Like I said, I have 2 different iterations of it. I just have to see which one's going to work best.
And whenever your kids are old enough to shoot, then you should let me know because I will personally take a trip down there to get them started. So.
Oh my God! So
maybe they have bungee cord bows. They shoot each other all day long.
They need suction cups on them because they shoot the TV, and our daughter is actually getting good aim with it.
Yeah.
How old is she now?
3.
So at
she's
4,
3, and my son can shoot you from across the house with this Nerf gun that shoots whistling ammo.
Yeah.
And it hurts like hell because they go so fast.
Wow. Well,
yeah,
I'll be sure to get my rear down there and maybe even bring her first bow because I have one of these pink bows sitting over here. She just got to be a little bit older to be able to shoot one of those. But it's a regular compound bow, and I think it goes from like 10 pounds all the way up to like 40 or something like that. But whatever it is.
No boy.
But I'll make sure that we get down there to see her because I got to take a trip to the Carolinas one of these days anyway. We'll see what happens.
Hey, it's a nice area, man. Everyone thinks of the Carolinas, and all they think about is Myrtle Beach and Charleston. There's a whole other side of the state where we are, toward the Tennessee side.
Well, I asked you before, just see if you find a place for me to kill some pigs, because it'll be just me now instead of being with a few other people.
Oh, so. That won't be a problem. the Bowtechs that we deal with from Saluda, they are like out in the fields almost nightly, just slaughtering hogs.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, the one him and his buddies go out. I think he posted a picture earlier today. Today alone, they got 4 hogs.
Oh wow!
And they're big. They're not tiny. These are probably 150, 200-pound hogs apiece.
I may need to drive down there for a week. I will take a rental car and not take my car, because I just got my car yesterday, and I'm not going to ruin the lease miles on that thing. But I'll come down there with a rental or something like that. But the rental car story is the lease car story is another time. But so yeah, it's been a blast. Thank you guys for hanging out with me so long. It's been a lot of fun on here as usual. But you know, we'll see what happens in the near future. I'm sure your businesses will all blow up like they're supposed to, and we'll just see what happens. But thanks again. So to all you guys who've been listening to this for the last 2 hours and 34 and 35 minutes, you know, thank you for joining us. As usual, if you want more information, be sure to contact us at highpowerarchery.com. If you want to hear about the Offcenter Archers, where can they find out about you guys?
Oh, we're on everything. Facebook, Instagram. I mean, there isn't a podcast platform that I don't think we're on right now.
Yeah.
Everything is listed under the same thing. Offcenter Archers. Stephanie's business is shooting skulls.
Yep.
And actually, you also have an eBay store now, to be honest.
eBay store too.
So I have.
Yeah.
Well, I just started eBay. I'm still kind of learning how that whole setup is, because their whole system of doing things is a little
different,
weird. It's like backdated. They're like 5 years behind everyone, I feel like. But it's on Etsy. It's the shooting. Oh my gosh, shootingskulls.etsy.com, and on eBay it's s.skulls, because the word shooting is not allowed. So.
Yes, and if you want to hear Angel be in a non-family friendly environment, you can go to our podcast. Look for a podcast that's called Taking Archery to the Higher Power, because I had to twist Angel's name into the episode name. And yeah, you'll get to hear Angel lose his mind on some of the topics, but it's quite amusing.
Yeah, if you guys you guys do another podcast.
They got one of our archery friends. Oh my, especially with Arthur. You inspired Arthur so bad that he specifically went out of his way and did something he never did and recorded a self-video.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I got some emotions rolling that day.
You guys do. If you want to record another podcast where I will cut loose, I'll be happy to do that. That'd be no problem. You tell me where and when, and I will be there to do it. It won't be a problem.
Yes, sir.
But
that's definitely got to happen.
Yeah. As we close, like I said, thanks for joining us. All you want to contact us. They gave you their information where you can find them. You want to find me? It's at highpowerarchery.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And as we always say, it's not goodbyes until we see you next time. So until then, shoot straight and take care, everybody. And then we're just going to close out with our closing music.